Hi everybody, hope you're doing really well. Just going to let the numbers go up for a little bit. It's 12:30 here now in the United Kingdom. Hope everyone's doing really well. Someone has suggested that I do a live stream today because I haven't done one for a while, and that's just because I've been so incredibly busy building the evidence, which I'll talk about a little bit today, what I'm finding out. I'm not going to be on here for too long at all, but I'm just really just coming on to let everyone know that I'm okay and that I'm still doing what I'm doing, and I'm still considering what I'm going to be doing next moving forward in all of this. So the evidence that I've been finding is pretty, it's blowing me away continuously. So I've now found connections to Prince Harry, to Harvey Weinstein and Jeffrey Epstein, all immediately being linked together. Well, we can assume it's Prince Harry because you've got a company called Harry's Happy Harry Holdings, which links immediately to the incorporation document of the Royal Foundation of the Prince and Princess of Wales that was originally named as Harry and William Foundation or something similar. So that links immediately to Happy Harry's. Well, that Happy Harry's links immediately into a company linked straight to Harvey Weinstein. So we've now got a Harvey Weinstein connection to Prince Harry, which obviously supports, and if you don't know who Harvey Weinstein is, he was linked to Hollywood and been involved in very big films. He actually founded a company called Miramax, and he was associated with Jeffrey Epstein. And this obviously now supports the evidence that Prince Harry was wearing the skin of Madeleine McCann in his shoes at the time of Jeffrey Epstein. There's loads of other evidence supporting that being the case, or they've set it up with a complex trail of evidence through all the Companies House records to make somebody believe that. But why would they want somebody to believe that? It just doesn't make sense. So then you come back to, this is looking like it's the case. And again, this would explain why Julia Vandalt was sent in to make me believe that Madeleine McCann was alive. And then they realised that didn't work. So Julia Vandalt was then arrested. I believe that was staged. She was then taken out of the picture because they knew it wasn't working. And unfortunately, sorry, I accidentally pressed the video button. So anyway, we've now got this connection to Prince Harry, Harvey Weinstein, Jeffrey Epstein, all linking in with the criminal network, same companies, and it also links in almost immediately with David Icke. So this means it ties in then with the intelligence agencies and with them sending him out, it seems, in 1991 to say the world would be devastated by earthquakes and tsunamis, tying in with the plans that they potentially had in relation to the collider technology and everything else that's going on. So the other thing I found is, so I've researched artificial intelligence because I knew that it was going to be part of this, and the evidence is really interesting. One of the main people involved in the development of artificial intelligence was a guy called Turing. Can't remember the first name. I've got it in my document. And he was educated at Sherborne in Dorset. Unbelievable. Which is, if you've been watching my evidence, you'll know how important Sherborne is. Okay, obviously it's in Dorset for starters, which is where my investigation began. So I've traced back. I'll just get onto the history a little bit of Sherborne and the schools there. But so Turing was involved in the development of artificial intelligence, and when he was 13, he went to Sherborne School. And whilst he was at Sherborne School, according to the research, he became involved in his initial first love experience, which was a homosexual encounter and experience at that school. So we have to consider, because of what I'm going to be talking about in a minute, that he was coercively controlled and manipulated from that point, possibly before. And Sherborne is so important in all of this for whatever, well, I think I'm getting to the idea why. And when you look at, first of all, I started establishing how important Sherborne was by the leader of Qatar having been educated in Sherborne, the country Qatar. And he, the leader of Qatar, has shares in the Canary Wharf building. Okay, a lot of big shares in the Canary Wharf building. Now, he connects via the Canary Wharf building to the Israel attacks in 2023. Obviously, he didn't carry it out, but it's linking into the international fraud coming in from the Nova Music Festival, where the attacks happened on the 7th October 2023, which were 100% staged, okay, as part of the deception against humanity. It's blatantly obvious. And obviously this links back into the Balfour Declaration of 1917, involving the Rothschilds to foment Israel as it is today. And this then obviously all ties in with the Albert Pike letter written to Mazzini in 1871, the year after they infiltrated Rome and took the Pope's prisoners, it looks like. Anyway, so the leader of Qatar links to the research of the Israel attacks on the 7th of October 2023. And it looks as though my exposure triggered that event. The investigation that I was doing triggered that event, as well as many other things, going right back to early 2022 when Vladimir Putin announced his special military operation against Ukraine in February. 100% to do with this. Anyway, so the leader of Qatar, through the records of the Israel attacks in 2023, he almost links almost direct where it is directly, because you have from the Canary Wharf company and corporation companies on his documents. You also have a Christian company, which leads to some very interesting information tying in with the Rapid Response, who targeted me when I was trying to expose all of this and threatened to steal my motorhome and my home at Exbourne Manor. And then the police, in collaboration with them, I believe, then stole my motorhome through the stop. Anyway, through that incorporation document, you also have connections to the Manchester Arena. So this then starts tying into the Manchester Arena bombing in all of this as well, where Ariana Grande was having a concert in 2017. And that is the year after the Pizzagate scandal was being exposed. So anyway, the history of Sherborne is quite interesting because it ties in to the Archbishop of Canterbury via the research going back a very long time. And one of the, he was the bishop, I think it was the bishop for Sherborne. He was actually initially at Canterbury. So we then now have this connection into the Archbishop of Canterbury, into Sherborne, where this education side of things seems to be relevant, where they potentially have the ability to infiltrate people through the educational systems to then become part of this criminal network. So the artificial intelligence side of this is really, really critical, because artificial intelligence, it began to be developed, according to the research that I was looking at, in, I think it was 1956, is when Turing was really becoming involved in the artificial intelligence development. And that's not long after the Prince of Wales Charles was initiated to become the Prince of Wales in 1958, which is when NASA was created, one letter short of Satan. It's no coincidence. And of course, what artificial is doing, and is obviously part of this very sinister agenda. So any of you that are using ChatGPT or whatever, you really do need to boycott it as much as you can, I believe. It is facilitating the separation from creation, and ultimately potentially the destruction of all of creation through the removal of moral conscience and the control of the planet moving forward through the use of artificial intelligence, where there will be no natural moral conscience which was given to us by the Creator. So I'm almost certain that it is part of this sinister plan against all of creation, artificial intelligence. And there's no coincidence that in 2022, in November, ChatGPT, which was obviously linked to artificial intelligence, was one of the most quickly taken up platforms around the world. And then from there, you have the business industry was massively investing in artificial intelligence. Remember, this whole system in place is a centralized criminal network linking in with organized gangsters that are involved in very, very serious crimes against children, and how this links in with the falsified prophecy element in all of this that seems to be so relevant. So Sherborne's very, very relevant to the artificial intelligence creation and all of these incidents that we're talking about for a lot of the reasons that I've mentioned. And there's obviously a lot more to it as well. One of the other things that I've looked at is the importance of the television, the creation of television in all of this. And that was involving somebody called Baird, I think it is. And that links very quickly then from the creation of television. It links into through a family network called, what were the surnames? I can't remember what the surname is, but it links into the bloodstock, chain in relation or system, I suppose, bloodstock system in relation to horses. Now I'm already getting overwhelming evidence now that the fox hunting appears to have been a cover for the hunting of the children on estates, and how that ties in with the blood of the children. So of course, if you have the bloodstock industry tying in with the horses, it's a perfect cover for them in relation to the movement of the blood in relation to the tortured children, which appears to be so massive in all of this. I can't, ignore the evidence of the blood of the children in all of this. It's just huge. I've even come across, there's loads of connections, but Juice is a name that seems to be given, or one of the names given to the blood of the tortured children. And I'm finding the Juice company names throughout this. And that also links into the research of the rapid response members as well, coming in from the connection to Trevor Meelan and Elizabeth Watson, which also, you won't know Elizabeth Watson necessarily, but Trevor Meelan was somebody that directed me towards Elizabeth Watson. She also links almost immediately into Qatar, back into the leader of Qatar again then. And there's juice companies around there linking with the international government fraud. So the blood of the children is really important in all of this to them. I think that's a huge element of this. And unfortunately, the organ harvesting now is obviously part of this as well. Illegal organ harvesting, which obviously ties in to the crimes against the children as well. And then obviously the remains of people, it seems, being put into the food chain. Now, I know this is absolutely awful to hear this, and it is. And what we've got to be very careful of is that we use this evidence as an opportunity for change, and not as an opportunity to normalise and accept the crimes against children moving forward. We must use this time now to stand up to this system and prevent this from continuing, which means we're going to be moving into a dangerous time if we try and prevent this. It's possible that they'll trigger some sort of catastrophic event against everybody, but we can't let that prevent a movement to save the children. We cannot, as I keep saying, allow the children to be suffering, the most innocent of all. We must be fighting and standing up for the children, everybody. So this bloodstock connection seems critical, and it actually links into Australia. This family name, Inglis, that's it. Inglis is the family name, and it was the largest, and no, I don't think it is anymore, but it was the largest bloodstock company in the world, and it links straight to Australia, and that connects, it looks like, from the research I've done, to the development of the television. And of course, the development of the television enables and facilitates the control of the information to the people, right? Information has been their biggest weapon. This is why when you go back to the Reformation, with the formation of the governments and the mind control against all of humanity, with a German company called Gutenberg's, they started rapidly being able to control the information through that German company, which was rapidly printing documentations in relation to the religious establishments. So it all ties in with the Vatican, you see. And this is why it seems the popes were notoriously wearing red shoes. And then you get the Red Shoe Club, okay, which links in with this. And many of you have heard of the Red Shoe Club, which suggests that they are wearing potentially the skin of tortured children in the shoes. And then, of course, this links in with what I've told you about Prince Harry and the evidence that I'm acquiring that suggests he was actually wearing Madeleine McCann's skin at the time of Jeffrey Epstein's arrest, or around that time in July 2019. And I think this is why there is an article saying that the press had picked up on him wearing a pair of shoes for a prolonged period of time. And this ties in, like I've said, now I've now got connections to, it seems, Prince Harry to Harvey Weinstein, Jeffrey Epstein, linking in very quickly there as well with David Icke and the falsified prophecies in all of this. So the fox hunting, yeah, someone's mentioning fox hunting, very important in all of this. Okay, fox hunting appears to have been introduced in the United Kingdom, and I think it was actually in the world for the first time, I think, in Yorkshire. And Yorkshire, and particularly York, was extremely important to the Romans. They originally came in from the southeast of England, obviously, or the United Kingdom, but they actually made a real thing out of York. It became one of the capitals. And fox hunting was then introduced in Yorkshire, and I think this is why it's so important with the Duke of York, with Andrew and all of this. I think it's symbolic with all of this. And obviously, if you're not already aware, New York, where the World Trade Center disaster occurred, which is absolutely 100% to do with everything I'm talking about here, guys, 100% set up and planned a very long time ago by the international governments going, this was not about a particular separatist group, ethnic group or faith group. This was an international collaborative effort. This has been planned for a very, very long time. When you look at the Reformation and the formation of governments in the 13th century, they've had a very long time to position everybody in the governments right around the world. And remember, government means mind control. Govern, control, ment means mind. If you translate it in Latin, mind control. Fox hunting was first established in Yorkshire. And of course, in Yorkshire, I believe that's where Leeds is, isn't it? In West Yorkshire, is that right? Well, Leeds, obviously, is where Jimmy Savile was born. And Jimmy Savile is massively relevant in all of this. And he had a property, which I only found out about in the last month or so, right by Exmoor Manor, where my investigation began, and in fact connects directly to Exmoor Manor via the management companies of that building, and links to my family and back in to the royal family as well, almost immediately in from that building that Jimmy Savile owned a property at. And he owned that property from 1972 until he supposedly died on the 29th of October 2011. I'm just going to come to some questions. I didn't intend to be on here very long. It was just a quick update. Yes, I am. I'm a former police officer. So I was in the police for 18 years. I was in Kent Police from 2000 until 2006. And then I transferred down to Dorset. Fox hunting is Finnish terminology for the normal youthful games between courting couple. Interesting. Well, it's the perfect cover, isn't it, for the hunting of children? Again, we've got to be so careful here, that we don't normalize this. I think they're hoping that through their release of some of this information in the Jeffrey Epstein files, that if we don't do anything about this, then it's going to become normality. And what you will find is we will be leading into practically hell on earth. I mean, if the Earth even survives, I don't think the Earth will even survive if we don't resolve this system of fraud, okay? You've got artificial intelligence, all right? You've got a very group of completely lost people running the world who are clearly not rationally thinking at all. And I'm sorry, I don't mean to be offensive or anything like that, but they are lost. They are really have not got a clue what they're doing, and a lot of that is probably due to the drugs that a lot of them are taking, because this is facilitating the international drug trafficking network deliberately. So they're not thinking rationally. There's no clarity. So in their mind, they possibly think they're doing the right thing in what they're doing in all of this, and what the awful things that they're involved in. They probably can't see a way out of it, and this is why it's so important that people who have clarity and moral conscience as the foundation come in now, and we have to do the right thing to try and prevent any further risk to children and ultimately creation in all of this. All right, because I don't think anything's going to survive, if I'm being honest with you, based on the evidence I've got, if we do not resolve this. And to resolve this, we have to focus on the Companies House fraud, because otherwise you've just got a motive there continuously for the addictions, for the lies, for the deception, for the crimes, for the blood of the children, and it's not going to go away, I'm afraid. I don't think it's going to go away. Don't know what's real or fake anymore. Yeah, well, I can tell you 100%, you are living under a criminal financial system. Okay, 100%. Now that means it has to change. Okay, whichever way you look at it, you cannot be living under a criminal financial system. At the moment, your money is paying towards the crimes of the children, according to all of the evidence. You're actually paying not only for the crimes of the children, but for them to unalive you. Okay, because they will have been unaliving, I would think, or at least suppressing people's lives and shortening people's lives via their technology and their system of crime that they've got in place. And then you come into talking about the removal of lead from paint in 1992, which is in the United Kingdom, and 1978, I believe, in the United States. It's all very relevant, everybody. Okay, the removal of the lead paint, but they allowed the exemption for lead paint to still be used in graded buildings, which is where those people running our system live. They live on, in estates, in mansions, which are older buildings, which means they can still use lead paint, which means they will have the protection from any harmful radiation technology that they may be using to suppress, or they may be using to actually try and control people through frequencies that could be potentially harmful. Well, this enables them to stay protected whilst everybody else can't use lead paint. There's loads more evidence in relation to the lead paint. It's all in my document. The evidence, you need to send me an email. I'm praying I'm going to be sending it out tomorrow. I keep saying I'm going to be sending it out, and then it's just taking so long to get the evidence there. And I'm glad I haven't, because finding the link to Harvey Weinstein and Prince Harry is absolutely critical in all of this, linking him with Jeffrey Epstein. And the evidence that I've now acquired for the artificial intelligence and the television is, and there's a lot more I've put in there as well. So you need to send me an email if you want to get a pen. I'll give it a minute or two, and then I'll give you my email address. Send me an email as soon as you can, and I'll get that document out. I'm hoping tomorrow, but it has been weeks since I sent the last document out proving everything. And there's probably a lot of very frustrated people, but hopefully you do understand how important this is, and that I need to get that document out to a point where it doesn't matter what happens to me, and then I can then think very carefully about what I do next strategically, and potentially put myself right in the firing line in all of this, to set an example moving forward, because it seems as though nobody else is going to be doing anything about this. So I can't sit back and do nothing with the fact that children appear to be being tortured. I can't, and even if I have to put my life on the line, then I have to do that. So yeah, I need to get this document done to such an extent where it doesn't matter what they do to me. The evidence is already out there, and I've just got to pray that it gets out to innocent people, and then they're not suppressing the ability for me to get this to the innocents in all of this. That's a real thing I'm worried about, is that they are controlling the information to such an extent where I can't get it to enough innocent people. Yeah, fox hunting was a cover for human hunting. Somebody's put that. Yeah, that's what it looks like according to all of my evidence. I'm sorry to say that, the only other option is they've deliberately set it up to be exposed of that as that happening. And, I have to consider that they've set this up as a test against humanity, potentially. So whichever way you look at it, we've got to do something. Yeah, Companies House is where all the evidence is shown. So my email address is Gary with one R, thetruthsetsuSfree @gmail.com. That's Gary with one R, thetruthsetsuSfree @gmail.com. Gary with one R, thetruthsetsuSfree @gmail.com. I was getting my evidence out on WhatsApp, sending the document out previously on WhatsApp, and they realised that was a problem for them, so they then removed my WhatsApp, which I've never heard of. Just suddenly wasn't working and couldn't use it, and they gave it back to me, and I thought, okay, this is great, giving it back to me. And then I found out they was using it to extract something from my phone. It was continuously sending from my phone, so I don't know what that was, what they were doing, so I had to remove it again. So I haven't had the WhatsApp. So please send me an email, GaryTheTruthSetsUsFree @gmail.com. Yeah, and the way I found out about the connection to Harvey Weinstein and Prince Harry and Jeffrey Epstein and David Icke is through the Chapman brothers, Dino and Jake Chapman, who are controversial artists who show exhibits and sculptures, etc., to do with torture and children. Unbelievable, isn't it? Well, that's how I found out, coming in from their names into the Companies House record. There it was, Harvey Weinstein, Jeffrey Epstein, Prince Harry, linking in with David Icke, and lots more coming in from their names. And that explains why in 2022 they separated and they were not collaborating again, because that is when I was starting to expose the international government fraud, and they realised, oh dear, everything's going to be coming out potentially. So they separated, the two brothers, and didn't do any work again together. Now their sculptures on their artwork links really relevantly, whether this was symbolic and they were doing it deliberately. So their artwork links into McDonald's, which is where my research ties into potentially the remains of the children being put in through the food chain. They also did a Hitler exhibit, which Hitler connects in with the Flemings and with Walt Disney. I've now found further connections in with Walt Disney. Multiple apparent assassinations and murders, terrorist incidents. There's a German organization called Freuhand or something similar, where there was multiple assassinations supposedly. I've got to consider that actually, a lot of these deaths aren't real. Otherwise, the big question is, why am I still alive? Now I know they've made me believe my life is going to be taken, that's for sure, but they haven't actually taken it yet. So, but I'd have to be quite naive to believe that nobody has been unalived as a result of this. When you're talking trillions of pounds, of course, the chances are people are going to have been unalived. And it's looking as though Princess Diana, if that wasn't an accident, was 100% to do with this. If she did really die and it wasn't an accident, it's 100% to do with this. Michael Jackson, it looks as though that's 100% to do with this as well, if he really died. And he was linked in with Sony, which actually links very quickly with Klaus Schwab, the former chair of the World Economic Forum. He shows all the evidence in Companies House. Yeah, I've got all of the evidence proving all of this. If this is the first time that you've heard me, obviously I completely understand that you'd be like listening to me thinking, yeah, whatever, but it's all there. I'm sorry to say, it's all there in a trail of evidence through the Companies House records, proving everything I'm saying. I can't quite believe I'm saying what I'm saying, but I've been doing this since 2022, and the evidence that I've acquired has just escalated and snowballed and escalated, and now it cannot be ignored. It's there in black and white through a trail of evidence to prove everything, and this is why they know they're in serious trouble, and this is why my evidence, as I've been exposing it, it has triggered events such as the announcement and the actual supposed military operation by Vladimir Putin in February 2022. This is why Elon Musk then wore a Baphomet outfit to a Halloween costume in 2022. This is why the Queen supposedly died on the 8th of September 2022. This is why you had the attacks in Israel supposedly on the 7th of October 2023 as I continued the exposure. And then this is why days later, on the 26th of October 2023, for the first time ever, Companies House came out and said that they would be verifying some details, only some, not all of them, which meant they would be selected, but they had to start doing something because they realized their criminal network was being exposed. So they came out and said that they were going to try and verify some evidence. Well, I now know for a fact that what they've set up is a fraudulent criminal verification process. So what they're allowing are criminal organizations to verify the details for the associated criminal organizations, and then that criminal organization that did the supposed verification tells Companies House that they have verified the details of the second criminal organization. It's absolutely unbelievable, and I've got proof of the whole lot. So there is no verification taking place. They've made it look as though there is, and this tells us that they are desperate to continue their criminal network. Now, there is going to be an agenda for them in all of this, an ultimate conclusive agenda, and it does appear to be tying in with the collider technology and the falsified prophecies, where it looks as though, for whatever reason, some people are saying they believe that they are the fallen angels and they have the right to potentially bring about the tribulation period on earth, all tying in with scripture and stuff like that. But whatever way you look at this, they are lost. It's the most polite word I can use. Completely lost, and the whole system they've got in place is completely against creation, against moral conscience, against what they would do to themselves. You know, they wouldn't want to be stolen from, and yet here they are with a system of international criminal fraud that is enabling the theft of absolutely multiple trillions of pounds. Multiple trillions upon trillions of pounds would have been stolen from the masses through this Companies House fraud. This is why then the World Marshal Authority came in, linked to the United Nations, and they knew this is a sign that they were panicking. The United Nations secured a deal supposedly to be able to give every human on the planet that's over 18 over £8,000 a month for 20 years as a way to keep quiet, basically. All right. Well, that was them panicking and realizing, okay, and probably testing, see what I would do as well, see how I would react to that. And of course, no amount of money will prevent. All right, will be enough for this. All right. The only thing that's going to resolve this is a new system in place to prevent this ever happening for future generations. Now, why they're drinking the blood? There's several different reasons. All right. Well, according to the research, we've got the blood of the children is a massive part of this, which then links in with the organ harvesting, the leftovers of the children, the torture, and etc. You know, there's several reasons. There is such a thing as vampirism, okay, which is, I believe, an addiction to blood or similar. That's possibly an element of this. I have found, for example, there's vampire references coming through my research. The other day I found a company called Tramp to Vamp Limited, VAMP, linking in with what appears to be the crimes of the children, and that was incorporated with the exact same companies as Exbourne Manor Freehold Limited, where my investigation began. So, you know, there's a various different things in this. You know, it could be the cult element and the belief system and what they are, what their belief is, leading them to believe that they have to commit these crimes against the children and take the blood of the children. Unfortunately, Christianity appears to be a huge part of this. And somebody has done a video saying that potentially Jesus, and I think most people believe that Jesus was at least a real person, and this person suggested that they actually came to prevent exactly what I'm trying to prevent now. And they ended up, what they thought doing by taking his life was getting rid of that problem, but it's possible that the bloodline of Christ was not taken out, and that there's, the consciousness of Christ is somehow still trying to prevent that evil system and that criminal network and the blood of the children from continuing. And of course, within Christianity, they drink the blood of Christ all of the time in the church, don't they? Supposedly drinking wine or juice, calling it juice. Oh dear. So Young Men's Christian Association, YMCA, was founded in 1844, which is the same year that Companies House began. And that's not going to be a coincidence, everybody. And it looks as though from the research there is there's been a removal of a gravestone for the original founder of the Young Men's Christian Association in a village linking to Vanessa Emery, who claims to be the real heir to the throne. And I cannot ignore the evidence that is supporting what Vanessa is saying. All right, and that the royal family were taken out back in the late 1950s, early 1960s, and it seems as though that involved the Cray twins. The Cray twins are massively tied into all of this, okay? Massively. The Cray twins, if you're not aware of who they are, then they were from a travelling background, according to the research, and they were involved in the criminal underworld and gangster side of things, which tied in with politics, and they actually had links into politics. They had links in with the royals. Dave Courtney was involved in them, and Dave Courtney is connected to the Garrick Club, okay, which was the oldest gentlemen's club, men-only club, that was originally founded in 1831, and that links into the intelligence agencies, and it also links in with the Honourable Society of the Knights of the Round Table. And this then ties in, I mean, there's so many connections here, but then you're looking at Charles Dickens was an original, one of the original members of, it was either the Garrick Club or the Honourable Society of the Knights of the Round Table, I can't remember. But Charles Dickens then links into me and my family via the research as well. Charles Dickens' father worked at the in the Navy, and they lived in Portsmouth, or in Hampshire, I think it was Portsmouth. And obviously Portsmouth is where one of the main naval bases is, and this then links in with Ian Fleming. And Ian Fleming links in with the Fleming family, and why Deborah Fleming was the person that resigned from the NHS in March 2022 and became involved in Exbourne Manor, where I was. And she then eventually initiated my removal from Exbourne Manor after I was continuously refusing to file forged bank documents whilst I was a director. And those documents appeared to be created by somebody on the Treasury Department of Lloyds Bank. And Lloyds Bank is on page 40 of the incorporation document for the Royal Foundation of the Prince and Princess of Wales, which then links in to my family or my friends, which does link in with my family that I grew up with 3.5 hours away from where that investigation began for me by a company called Ingenious Film Partners 2 LLP. And on that incorporation document for the page 40, go and look at it, the Royal Foundation for the Prince and Princess of Wales. On page 40, you'll see there's a Monks company, a Monks investment company, and that then ties back in with the religious establishments in all of this. It's definitely tying in with the black nobility family members. You've got Ciro Orsini, who appears to be an associate of Sacha Stone. The connections I'm now finding with Sacha Stone is absolutely mind-blowing, and it looks as though Juliette Lewin was set up, from the evidence I've found, and this is really interesting, and trying to get my head around why they would have done this. Juliette Lewin, if you're not aware of who she is a lady that's living on the Isle of Wight that claimed that her granddaughter was being abused within the system, within the social services. And Juliette approached me or contacted me in early 2024. And from that information from Juliette is how I started to acquire the evidence of the crimes against the children, linking in with the government's Companies House fraud that they've got in place. However, through Juliette, I believe now Juliette was positioned by the intelligence agencies to make contact with me. So, of course, the big question is, why would they contact me to start exposing themselves, giving me evidence and ammunition to expose the criminal network and how they themselves are, not Juliet, but the intelligence agencies and government organisations, are facilitating the torture, abuse, murder, and the blood taken from tortured children. That's what seems to have been the case. So there's so much deception going on, and unfortunately, until we get the truth of the Companies House fraud, until they come out and tell us about the Companies House fraud, we cannot believe a word as to what is being said by the governments, all right, or any of their organisations around the world. This isn't just the United Kingdom. This is international government fraud linking in with the crimes of the children, everybody, according to all of the research, and the blood of the children, and how this ties in with the collider technology. One of the huge things that's happened recently, which I do need to cover before I go tonight, and I will come to some more questions. Sorry, I know you've probably got a few questions. One of the main companies in the fraud was originally incorporated in 1965 as Jordan and Sons Limited. This evidence was secured a very long time ago to confirm that they had committed major government fraud by falsifying a record in relation to that. Well, it's recently been identified that they've gone back into the record and rectified the fraud, okay? But they've tried to cover it up. So they haven't put anything in the filing history. They've just gone back in and entered the names that they hadn't registered before, changed the addresses, okay? Well, now by doing that, what they've done is drop themselves right in it. Okay, now what I anticipate they were hoping to do was to do that and then get rid of me, so they had nobody that would be able to come forward and explain in detail exactly why it's still fraud and what they've been doing and why they're trying to cover it up. And I think this is why it was timed with a police tracking dog, plainclothes police dog they had, trying to find my location, and then they went into my tent when I wasn't there and I had to change location. So I think they were going to, because they haven't really got many options, to be honest with you, in all of this, okay? Now, if they get rid of me, it's still not going to get rid of this, but of course it enables that, in their mind, it makes them believe that, okay, we haven't got to worry about Gary anymore, at least, and we've just got to now deal with the evidence that he's disclosed and that is in circulation. So this is why it's so important that when everybody gets my document, and anyone that's had it previously, you must send it out to absolutely everybody, because it protects everybody. All right. Otherwise, if only a small number of people hang on to the documents, okay, then there's a chance that they can control that information and get rid of it. All right, and silence it. So this is why it's and I think it's too far. I think the evidence is too far for them. But of course, I'm still acquiring evidence all of the time. So what they've done is they've gone retrospectively, gone back into this company. Bearing in mind it was incorporated in 1965, and they've only just done this, gone back into it and tried falsifying all of the records to make it match. But they haven't mentioned it in the filing history. All they've done is just put the new names to match the register. Well, this tells us several things. First of all, it tells us they're seriously worried. Okay, otherwise they wouldn't have done it. They practically admitted their guilt, because otherwise, why would they have rectified the names if the company was actually registered correctly in the first place? All right, which means it wasn't registered correctly in the first place, which means it's been trading as a criminal company for decades. Not only that company, hundreds of thousands of companies, okay? Because as soon as you have a criminal company like that, if any other companies uses that company name on its incorporation document, they also become a criminal entity. So it creates this massive worldwide centralized criminal network, all right? And they've realized they're in serious khaki poo-poo, all right? They've realized they are in serious trouble. So they've gone back in to the record, falsify it. By doing that, they've exposed themselves further and practically admitted what I've been saying, but they're trying to cover it up. Now, this tells us they are desperate to maintain control of the world and this criminal system. That cannot happen, all right? Because this means if they stay in control, they're going to continue with their agenda, which appears to be, and I still have to consider this based on all of my evidence, ultimately the end of all of creation, deliberately, through the system of crime they've got in place, how this ties in with the blood of the children. Now, a lot of people will be saying, Why would they do that? Why would they do that? Look, these people appear to be involved in torturing children, okay, and drinking children's blood. These aren't normal people that we're talking about. They're not the likes of most of us that have a moral conscience that wouldn't even hurt a child in any way, shape or form, okay? So you need to separate from this normal understanding of thing and try and look at it from another perspective. And these people are not thinking rationally. And remember, you've also got the drug trafficking network is a massive part of this. So many of them probably aren't even all there. All right, I don't mean this offensively. You know, I really don't mean to be offensive to them, despite what they're involved in. They are not thinking rationally. Okay, they're just not there. They're not thinking rationally. You've also got a strong element in this, which is incest. Okay, where it looks as though there's been a lot of incestuous activity. I've got evidence supporting this, and with incestuous activity over time becomes, according to the research, degeneration of the mental capacity and the mind. So this also could be another reason why they are not thinking rationally, because of the as I've said, the incestuous inbreeding element in all of this. Now, I'm not saying they're all involved in inbreeding, but we know, for example, that the Cray twins openly claimed to be incestuous. Well, the Cray twins are massively part of all of this, okay, which means there's going to be a lot more people. It's going to be a lot more people, all right, that are going to be involved in incestuous activity. And of course, in their mind, what that would also do is maintain the bloodline control over the world. And I think this is what we've got, is probably a huge criminal network linked into a bloodline. And when you look back at the royal families, and I've seen a lot of evidence of this, a lot of people have said that actually all of the members of is it the royal family or members of government, I think it's both, are all linking in with the same, potentially the same bloodlines. And I haven't verified this myself, but I have seen some information suggesting that various high-level politicians, for example, are linked in with the same bloodlines, in with the royal families, etc. So, you know, incestuous activity, I think, is a big part in all of this, which again could explain why we haven't got this rationality in the management of the earth now, of the world. So let me come to some questions. Sorry. Snakes logos on all ambulances, vehicles all over the world, on flags. Yeah, we've got an international criminal system. Look, they've done this. They've controlled. Remember, if you think about it this way, because they've taken control of the currency producer, okay, and it's a completely centralized criminal network, they therefore control tax rates, insurance rates, all of these things that. So all they can do is they can change and fluctuate the rates as part of a criminal network to facilitate their agenda. All right. And of course, they can buy people out, because too many people will accept money to make things go away. This is why you get lots of out of court settlements. Well, we cannot let this go away with any money. And anybody that accepts any amount of money for this to go away, shame on you. Shame on you. You are actually part of the problem. And of course, there's more of you that are innocent in this, supposedly, than are involved in the crimes against the children. And this is where it's so important that you all really think carefully about how you deal with this. And, you know, you cannot let temptation of money influence your actions in relation to this, everybody. All right, you must keep thinking children being tortured, blood of children, suffering, death, torture, and ultimately the end of all of creation. So there's going to be nothing left for you to even, you know, even if you accept any money, there's not going to be anything worth left at the end of this, potentially, for any money. No amount of money can resolve this. There must be a new system in place that is transparent to enable a safeguarded system and the protection of the children and the protection of creation, the protection of humanity moving forward. Now, these people, I don't know what they're going to do. I don't know what they'll be thinking about. Many options. in all of this and what they're going to be doing. There is very little right options for them. There's a lot of wrong ones they could do. There'll be certainly a consideration of, do they just go into their tunnel systems and, you know, go and try and run away from this? Well, I think those tunnels are going to flood. And in fact, I'm almost certain that the tunnels are just going to flood and kill them all. So I advise them not to do that. No matter what you've been involved in, I don't want anyone, you know, dying in all of this or suffering in all of this. What I need is the truth to be disclosed, the full disclosure of the truth. Because what we then have is a reset to truth. Now, they're telling us a lot of the truth, but it will be hiding some of the biggest stuff in all of this, which is what I'm talking about. But we must have a reset to truth. If we don't reset to truth and then maintain that truth, then we're living under a life of deceit and a separation of creation from moral conscience. We can't have that. You can't have any relationship without trust. You can't have trust without truth. It's as simple as that. So the Reformation, somebody's put, what has the Reformation got to do with anything? Well, hopefully you know what the Reformation is. So it was the formation of the governments. So this enabled the beginning of the control of humanity through the creation of the governments and the controlling of the information. And the information is their biggest weapon, because they can use the centralization and control of the information to manipulate, mind control, deviate, act as a distraction, deceive you, and control the world through that misinformation. Yep, fox hunting is, I can't ignore the evidence in relation to the fox hunting. It's really overwhelming now. Trump's massively implicated in this. I've got evidence of Trump continuously, even tying in with all of this that I've just been talking about. Trump's in there as well. Oh, brilliant. Thank you. You printed the document off. That's a lot of printing. It's 1,500 pages now I've got on my document, just over. So the plan is for you to follow the strategy. That it's the only way out of this. I don't think, do this myself, although I've had a massive impact, I believe, on the change of the planet in all of this, change of Earth. I think it's down to the masses to follow the strategy based on the evidence. Now, I can't force you to do that. All I can do is give you the evidence, give you the power, give you the strategy, give you the legalities, and advise that you follow through with that strategy. If you don't do that, it's up to you. I'm going to get rid of Slim Yin. Sorry, I haven't got time to mess around with people that are being like that. Dead children used in paint too. I'm not aware of that. I don't know if I'm going to be safe, but you don't need to worry about me. You need to worry about yourself in all of this. Is it going to be full of as much waffle as this live? Okay, goodbye. Oh, wow, they put a lot of comments. What is your opinion on Keir Starmer? He needs to be arrested by the people. Massively implicated. Not just with the company I'm going to tell you about, but with others. But the important company is the Death Penalty Project Limited. It's even the name there, Death Penalty Project Limited. Company that was started in 2005, I believe, when he was one of the original directors. He then resigned on the 5th of April 2020, which is the same day that the founder of a company called the London Law Agency died, according to an article. Well, the London Law Agency is on the incorporation document for that company. So he resigned on exactly the same day when the original founder for the London Law Agency died. That company links immediately to Madeline's fund, leaving no stone unturned. The Madeleine McCann company that was set up in 2007. It links immediately to P. Diddy and Sean Combs, right, via Bates, Wells and Braithwaite, which is on its incorporation document. Bates, Wells and Braithwaite is on the incorporation document for the Royal Foundation for the Prince and Princess of Wales, which links all areas of the fraud practically to this international criminal network, to the crimes against children, and to my families as well, and to my upbringing. For whatever reason, I'm right in the centre of this. It's intel, i.e. intelligence, not for slow minds. You have a football commentator voice. We are listening, Gary. I am a skeptic and wonder about what is real or not. I don't know if this helps. Yeah, I've been, it's been very difficult for me to discern what is real and what isn't. And this is why I have to keep coming back to the foundation of what my evidence shows at the basis, which is that we're living under a criminal financial system. That is that their governments are forging the Companies House registration system and the incorporation documents. But they're now panicking. As I've said, they're coming back in and trying to rectify the forgery, which tells you they're worried about losing control. All right. So we need to now grab this opportunity and change the world forever. All right. It really is the most important evidence on Earth, probably since creation, because what this is going to do is going to create, or it has the potential to, if people do the right thing, a system that will then bring heaven on earth, all right, which will safeguard creation, humanity, and bring equality, fairness, integrity forever, because the technology is now here to enable a transparent system to be put in place forever. And once it is put in place, that's it, guys. All of this awful stuff that's gone on the earth, the international conflicts, terrorism, crimes against children, drug trafficking, it all ends. It all ends. Not completely, of course, but on the international level that it's happening, it will end. It will end. There'll be a lot of, obviously, it's not going to be plain sailing, and there's going to be a lot of people need to be rehabilitating, but the amount of money that will be spare will be absolutely vast, all right? Because most of the money is being stolen through this criminal network into offshore accounts. Most of your tax, most of your money you're paying into your insurances is being stolen and actually facilitating the addictions around the world through this criminal network. That's a fact, everybody. It's obvious. It's quite obvious. Finding out. I've been asking you to look into them for ages. Yeah, yes, I think it was you, Justin, that might have triggered me. Massively important. The Chapman brothers, I presume you're talking about. So I'm just catching up on comments. Yeah, it became incredibly important. Thank you so much. Straight into Harvey Weinstein, Jeffrey Epstein, Prince Harry, linking with and there's another organizer. Oh, also to the Savile Club. Okay, you got the Savile Club coming in from there, which means Jimmy Savile. That then links in with Donald Trump, Prince Andrew, and it makes all of the other connections that have already been made. All fraud all the way throughout as well. Proton Mail seems to still work, Gary. Yes, I've got still got my Proton email as well, but I haven't even responded to any of the emails on there yet for weeks. So yeah, you can send one to there. It's Gary Time for Freedom at proton.me, I think it is. Gary Time for Freedom at proton.me. Yeah, but I haven't figured out how to attach a document to that. That's why I haven't sent any out on that yet. But what I've done is I've sent previous versions or previous updates of the documents out, you see, so they're already circulating the world. But this next one is going to be absolutely critical. It's going to be sending, we need to get this document out to absolutely everyone around the world, as many people as we can. But obviously there's no point doing that if nobody's going to follow a strategy. It's all very well having that information and having that evidence, but if no one's going to act on it, then it's pointless. Oh, there's a couple of slim yims, it looks like. Gary, is this evidence? Is this Gary? Is this evidence all of the internet? It's from the Companies House Register, which is basically an electronic register that was started by Companies House, which is a government organisation, in 1992. It started to become electronic in 1992, which for whatever reason they timed it, the electronic creation, with the now it won't be a legal entity, but they've claimed the creation of the Catholic Church as a legal entity at the same year that they started the electronic register of the Companies House. So for whatever reason they've timed with the Vatican, and this will be in with the Catholic Church, probably tying in with the falsified prophecies and all of this. But the actual register began in 1844, but it didn't become electronic until 1992, or started to become electronic from 1992, which is 3 years after the World Economic Forum, the World Wide Web was created for CERN, which is all to do with this, okay? CERN is the organisation that oversees the Large Hadron Collider in Geneva, and you've got a second Hadron Collider in New York called the Relativistic Heavy Ion Collider. And CERN was created in 1989. The World Wide Web was created in 1989 for CERN. And that was by a guy called Tim Berners-Lee, who actually lived in the same town in Wimborne in Dorset, where the Flemings lived that initiated my removal from Exbourne Manor. There's going to be no coincidence in all of this, everybody. And some of my family members all worked for, several of them, my mum, her boyfriend, my friend, my sister, and my friend's girlfriend at the time, all worked for this company that appears to be linking in with CERN. Back in 1989, 1990, they were actually working for this organisation, which then links back into everything as well. So it's basically it's through the Companies House records, using the people record, the incorporation documents, so attached documents to that record is a critical bit of the evidence, okay, through the paperwork, and where they falsified it, but you can follow a trail of evidence through it. You can follow a trail of evidence and see the connection and join all of the dots. Has anyone here ever had a spiritual awakening? I feel most at peace when I'm in the countryside and in forests. I can't stand being around people as I feel the tension in the air. Yeah, nature is absolutely incredible, everybody. And this is why, with a new system, nature needs to become more important again, and away from technology so much. And nature needs to be the focus. And the protection of nature and the value of nature and the enjoyment of nature rather than technology. I admire what you're doing, Gary. We need more people like you. Thank you very much. Really appreciate it. Action VR. Really appreciate it. Last time I felt this, I was in Northern Ireland post-Troubles. I bought my first Bible today as I can feel the evil in this world. Yeah, I think we're all massively feeling it at the moment, aren't we? We're massively feeling it. Everywhere I'm going, I'm hearing people talking about Epstein and, you know, all of these things going on. But it's an incredibly positive time as well, because of all of the evil is being exposed and all of the darkness is coming into the light. That means we can try and implement a way forward to ensure that it doesn't happen again. If we didn't know about it going on, I never knew that the children were suffering. You know, I never knew this was all going on until it's been a gradual process for me from 2022. I wouldn't have believed a word of it prior to 2022. But now that you've got a document proving everything, that's why this document is, I would say, the most important evidential document on the planet. Even with all of its spelling mistakes, evidentially, it has the ability to change Earth forever. Absolutely, 100%. I believe that. And I actually believe that it could be, some people have suggested it's the key of David. This document has the ability, through its evidence, to bring heaven on earth. I absolutely believe that. A lot of these truthers are controlled opposition. Yeah, many of them. They've had 700 or 800 years, if not longer, to have planned all of this. So they've positioned people as part of the deception. Absolutely. And anyone that is not talking about the Companies House fraud, I'm very sorry to say, you cannot trust them. It's as simple as that. This is absolutely 100% what this is all about. All right? Because it creates the motive through the financial system for lies, deceit, crime, unaliving, all of the world's problems: conflicts, terrorism, crimes against children, drug trafficking. All of the world's problems are linking in with this. Even that potentially their ability to manipulate the weather and also potentially cause earthquakes. So if you resolve this, then you resolve practically all of the world's problems. Someone's put CERN is the key to the bottomless pit. It could be that CERN is the bottomless pit. In, was it not tribulations? Oh, it's gone out of my mind. In the part of the Bible, verse 9:11, it talks about the key being given in relation to the bottomless pit. Well, there was a key given to Elon Musk by Donald Trump several months ago, supposedly the key to the White House. This is as I was talking about a lot of evidence around the Bible, and suddenly this key is being given, and I then disclosed the connection to the key in the falsified prophecies, and it was immediately at that time that Donald Trump and Elon Musk fell out, and they tried separating Donald Trump from Elon Musk as I was exposing all of this. I just got here, I thought you was talking about my mother-in-law. Mental health decline of Britain, ladies and gentlemen. I won't remove you because I'm not too sure what you meant by that, but everything I'm saying is verifiable in the evidence. Absolutely everything. They're all used the same numbers for their coding, etc. Strong's. Oh no, how much have I missed? Not any notification. Yes, I don't think many people some people are getting notifications, but is there a link where I can read all your information? They're hacking all of the document file links, so I can't create a link, but I can send you the actual document. So you just need to email me on GaryTheTruthSetsUsFree@gmail.com, and then within the document, in its electronic form, you can click on the links to verify everything within that document. Now they are removing some of the links, not many of them though. Most of them are still working as far as I'm aware. Importantly, you can click on the links within the Company's House records showing the trail of evidence, and then you can cross-reference the document. And I've tried to make that cross-referencing easier by actually putting underneath explaining where that particular information you're reading links in with other areas of the research, and then you can just then search the document, go into it and verify it by clicking on the links. Everything I'm saying is verifiable, all right, and corroborative. Good evening. How many babies are aborted every day worldwide? I don't know, Mindy, to be honest with you, but it'll be a vast amount, I would think. And this all links in with this as well, the abortion side of things. When was it? I've actually covered that a little bit in my document. I've got a feeling something links in with 1967. I can't remember. I need to look at it. Man said Prince Harry was wearing shoes made from Madeleine McCann. That is what all of the evidence is suggesting from my document. It's pretty overwhelming as well, to be honest with you. Let's face it, Madeleine McCann, for whatever reason, they've kept her in the front line of everyone's minds, even though hundreds of thousands of children go missing every year. Well, this would explain why, wouldn't it? With that evidence that I've found. That would absolutely explain why it is being kept there at the front line. What do you think the mark of the beast will be? Look, I don't know. I think it's possible that and I believe they've manipulated scripture. So it may not be, it may be there isn't even a mark of the beast, right? It's possible they've infiltrated scriptures of certainly potentially all three main Abrahamic faiths. I'm not saying certain people didn't exist and that I don't agree with some of the I absolutely believe in love thy neighbor or treat everybody how you want to be treated, and I absolutely believe in thou shalt not kill. And if we all followed those two rules, I tell you what, this world would be amazing. No, I've had to think a lot. I've had to think, look, am I the bad guy in all of this? Because I'm trying to prevent potentially falsified prophecies? What if they're real prophecies and they're trying to make them look like false through this evidence, and I'm trying to prevent it? Does that mean I'm trying to prevent our Creator? And therefore, does that make me bad? But I don't see how that can be the case. If you're trying to reset to a system of truth and bring about no suffering to any of humanity, including the children most innocent of all, which is supported by creation through moral conscience, because there's no way a creator that gave moral conscience would agree to the suffering of the most innocent. I mean, there's no way, because otherwise we wouldn't have moral conscience in a rational state of mind. And that's not taught, I believe. In my case, I was very unusual. I wasn't taught to go around and save flies off of a swimming pool surface, and I'd do that now. Okay, that wasn't my mum and dad saying you've got to save all the flies. This was me realizing that was the right thing to do, because I value life, because I value nature and creation, and I don't want to cause suffering or to witness any suffering without intervening and preventing that suffering from continuing. What do you think, Mark? So in answer to your question, I don't know. It's possible they were going to try and set up a fake Mark of the Beast, I believe. This could be why Neuralink was invented in 2016 by Elon Musk, a chip to go in your brain, potentially leading into transhumanism. And what does it was a revelation. I couldn't think of the name. Revelation 9/11. 9/11 as well. The fact that it's 9/11 Revelation, and I think that pretty sure that's the Revelation 9/11 that talks about the pit, but it also talks about making people can't remember the exact wording, but want to die basically, but not be able to. Well, the only way you can stop people dying that want to is you control their body to the point where they can't physically control themselves. Now, the Neuralink, our transhumanism, would obviously enable that ability, them to control the mind or to control the body, but your mind still be there wanting, and that would obviously be ultimate suffering, wouldn't it? Generally, they could then cause suffering, which you could not then bring an end to that suffering if you can't control your body. So I believe that's something they were definitely thinking about, or they wanted me to believe they were trying to head towards that, because I think this evidence will prevent any of that from happening. I believe this evidence will prevent any further suffering to humanity, to children, the suffering of animals to the extent that it's happening now. And we mustn't forget about the creatures in all of this, everyone. And any of you that has no respect for nature and for animals, you really need to start respecting them. Now, I'm not saying, and I don't want to go into the debate, of what foods we should eat, but absolutely, I think we've all neglected nature to some extent, including me at times. And I think we really need to start reevaluating that and understanding how important the biodiversity of Earth is, and it all has an intrinsic part in our fulfillment and our future and our health and well-being moving forward. And if we don't value that as a priority, really, then we're going to become our own worst enemy. And I spoke about this the other day. I had a dream about where I was, and it was awful. It woke me up, where I'd put boiling water on snails. Never had this in my life. Initially, I didn't wake up, and then it woke me up. It startled me. I think it was quite early, actually, in the morning. And I then went on. Somebody sent me a couple of links to a Facebook video, and I was just scrolling through, didn't think anything of it, and there was a picture of these, outlines of animals, all different animals, and it was like, how many animals can you find in it? And I was just looking at it for a minute, looked at the comment, and someone said, "Oh, there's a snail in the eye." Now, I don't normally look at Facebook, scrolling through Facebook much, there was, I hadn't seen it, and this snail was the eye on the bigger animal, and that was a symbol for me, or a sign for me, that was acknowledging the suffering through that dream that I had, and then seeing that straight afterwards, acknowledging and wanting to imprint that on my mind, where we haven't valued nature enough, and we've actually inadvertently probably caused suffering and torture to animals to some extent. And of course, these people are, it seems, causing suffering and torturing to children, and actually all of humanity through the system they've got in place. So, and I remember when I was a child, when I was probably, I think, probably about 10, something like that. I remember sitting in class, and there were daddy long legs or crane flies, and I mentioned this the other day. And some of the people in the class were taking the daddy long legs and pulling all of the legs off and the wings, and just leaving the body of this crane fly alive. And it made me so upset. I remember it, and even now I would obviously do something or say something. Back then I didn't have the confidence. But if that was happening, what makes a child do that? It just does not. I cannot even comprehend how they got to that point. Now, I can only assume that something's gone very wrong in their family, but I think that level of disrespect and complete, I mean, I think it's evil personally, but I think that's quite far spread. I think that probably happens a lot more than I would like to think. And you know, that I think is a real sign of a big problem when you've got children doing things like that. Bram Stoker was supposed to have mixed in elite Masonic circles and drew his inspiration for Dracula from what he witnessed firsthand. Okay, interesting. I mean, there's definitely, according to all of my research, unless they put it there deliberately, they'll be exposing themselves. The blood of the tortured children is massive in all of this. It's huge, according to what I'm seeing in my research. His name is Yahuwah. Yahuwah is the creator. Yeshua is the son. Casey, that's what someone's put. Casey says he Vlad the Trans. Albania, I'm sure I've read. Yeah, King Charles came out. There were articles in around when the Queen died, actually. In fact, it was on the day or the day after the Queen died, 8th September 2022, that articles emerged where King Charles was saying that he was related to Vlad the Impaler. So, yeah, I mean, whether that was a distraction or deception, it was an interesting timing to release it. Was that a case of trying to make me believe that it was a vampire Dracula thing? Cray twins were Jews. Yeah, they had connections to the Judaism. Also, they had connections to, I think it's Austria, and there was Irish as well. So they had a bit of a mixed background. Okay, I hope you're staying strong. If you don't get remembered in this lifetime, you definitely get recognition in your next one. When all this satanic eclipse, you get out of the way. Thank you so much for your comment, Gary. I really appreciate it. I'm just doing what's right, you know. I'm just putting myself in the front line and taking the risks, and I can't see any other option. I can't see any other option for me, to be honest with you. I can't go back to pretending this doesn't exist. I can't not do anything about it. You know, I just wouldn't. I can't. You know, I've got Netflix, and I don't even watch it. Might start watching a film or something, and then my brain's like, oh, I need to research that, and I'll just stop. And it takes me a month to watch a film at the moment, just because I just can't. I've just got to do this. I've got to do this. I cannot sit back and allow the crimes against the children, the potential end of all of creation in all of this. Hope it gets out to real investigative reporters. Many of them are unfortunately compromised in this. It's just huge. The amount of people compromised by this is huge. I mean, I don't know how many people are involved in the blood of the children. It's probably going to be a lot more than I hope. But involved in the fraud, millions and millions of people are involved in this criminal network. You've got 6 million Freemasons. They all need to be arrested for starters. You've got all of their friends and family are compromised by this. Someone's put, drinking blood does not make someone a vampire. I'm not saying it's not part of something demonic or satanic, but it's not vampirism. And just because they drink blood. If you citizens arrest a solicitor, what will the court do if they're in the same bar guild? It's not about whether there'll be a conviction. It's not even about whether they actually successfully get arrested. It's about you applying the pressure to the system in the right way and then realising it's over. Okay? And all you'd end up doing is you just keep arresting the solicitor. So if they did get out, all right, you just go back and arrest them another day. All right. Eventually, then we might have to arrest the police, and so be it. If we have to arrest police officers for this, then that's what we're going to have to do, and we're going to have to take that risk. And then we're stepping outside of the jurisdiction of their criminal law anyway. Now, that's not something I want to look at, but when you've got children at risk, you know, we've got to stop this. Can't carry on. Garrick is a suspicious Freemason drama group. Interesting. I wasn't aware of that. Thank you. Hi, Empowered. Thanks very much for your comment. Appreciate it. I'm doing all right. Thank you. I'm a bit fed up with just research. It's just constantly staring at the phone, and you know, that gets. And I'd love to have a break, but I can't. I can't have a break. I've got to finish this. I've got to get this document out. It's so nice on the Isle of Wight, isn't it? Yeah, Isle of Wight's a nice place. And we see it's, you know, in terms of appeal to look at, it's lovely. Yes, covered everything up. Yeah, it's absolutely critical. What they've done, going back into the main company in the fraud and retrospectively rectifying the fraud, but keeping it quiet. I mean, that tells us everything we need to know. All right. And I've secured the evidence. It's already been secured. Many other people have already sent the previous evidence confirming that they'd already falsified the records, okay, to various organisations. So now whether they've done it to expose themselves even more, I don't know. But that's what it's done. That's what it's done. Cloning, someone's mentioned cloning here. I've done research in the document around cloning. I can't ignore that evidence, what I've found, linking in with some of the same companies in the centralized criminal network. That was coming in from embryo experimentation, and also the company that was involved in Dolly the sheep. So, you know, yeah, you know, I've got to consider that cloning may be real in all of this. I wouldn't have done a few weeks ago. I would have been very skeptical, but now I have to, you know, consider that cloning is an element of this. Organ harvesting, now I've done research on that and I can't ignore it. You know, and you know, I mentioned this the other day. If you've got 115 on your driving license, automatically means they'll take your organs. Now, what does that mean for you? Well, think how much money these organs are worth. Think how many drug addictions you have now as a result of this, and potentially even the addiction to the blood of the children. If you're involved in any medical intervention that is required, that now gives them a motive not to save your life. Okay, so you need to opt out of it. If you look at your driving license, you'll see 115. You can go and check it, verify it online. It means you're an organ donor, even if you haven't expressly confirmed that you will. So this provides a motive for them to get rid of you, basically, or not to help you if you're involved in anything. Gary, I have not heard you speak on the Pilgrim Society. I believe they are huge in this, and I believe this is where you will find the Rockefellers are very influential. I haven't actually come across it, and I haven't researched it. The Rockefellers are there. I've seen them a couple of times, but I haven't actually searched the Pilgrim side of things. The way Jordan shut their Isle of Man office was well dodgy. Oh, okay. Not aware of that. Interesting. Thank you. I've just screenshot that. Some are so behind in the times, it's critical now. It absolutely is critical, William. We can't, you know, how can anyone sit back with this all coming out now? I mean, like I've been saying this a few times, they could be setting up a judgment against you all. You know, whatever way you look at this, you've got to do something. All right, if they're setting up a judgment against you, and you have to consider that because you've got the religious establishments involved in it. A lot of what they're saying and setting up, and have set up in what I've established, it's possible they've set up an elaborate trail of evidence, which is very complex, joining all of these dots for me to say what I'm saying, to get me to come out and get you to try and do the right thing. And if you don't, then a judgment may occur. I'm not saying that is the case, but I have to consider that. And the way I'm looking at this, although there's evidence suggesting that some of the deaths may have been staged and real, and maybe some of these things aren't really a threat, I'm looking at it as I've got to presume everything is real, and there is a real threat, and people are really being unalived over all of this until I know otherwise. And that means I'm going to be doing the right thing moving forward to establish the true evidence in this and come to the right conclusion and prevent whatever may need to be prevented. If I don't think that it's all true based on my evidence now, then there's a danger that I'm just going to sit back, I'll just go and camp in the middle of nowhere and have a good time and, spend my life hiking and walking and not do anything about this, when actually that, it could be all real and there could be a real threat to all of creation and to the children continuing in all of this. But nothing was done about it. I'm not racist. My dad's white, my mum Jamaican, but they also did the same. What is happening now? So I'm not too sure what you're referring to there. Gary, please read your Bible. Jesus is coming on return. Look, I don't know, that Bible wasn't infiltrated. All right, I've got to be guided by my inner moral conscience, which I believe is being given to me by the Creator. I absolutely believe 100% that this evidence is coming through me via the Creator. I keep saying this, but I shouldn't even have this evidence. It shouldn't even be possible for somebody who is very, very insignificant to cause the head of the World Economic Forum to resign. It shouldn't be possible. And yet here we are. Here we are, exposing the entire world's international criminal network. Gary, please, we are living through the greatest moment in human history. Yeah, Kevin, I'm actually with you on that. I absolutely believe you. I absolutely believe we are. It's I'm not scared about this. Am I uncomfortable and challenged continuously? Yes, I am. I don't know if I'm going to be murdered one day to the next. I don't know if I'm going to be living in a house again. But I keep coming back to, and I keep saying, and I keep praying, I know that you got my back. And I know whatever happens, I'm going to be all right in this. And as long as I have faith and I'm following my moral conscience, this is all going to be okay for me. Because it's very easy for me to be selfish in this and think, I've got nobody now. I can't meet out with anyone. I'm living in a tent. I don't know if I'm going to live, and I have to keep grounding myself again and just having faith and coming back to, no, Gary, you've got this evidence for a reason. Otherwise, you wouldn't have it. Keep following what you're doing. Keep following the signs you're being given, the dreams you're having, which is leading to critical evidence continuously. Keep being guided, and you'll be okay in all of this. And, at the end of the day, I've got to think of the bigger picture and not just me. And, it's difficult at times. But, you just got to keep coming back to what's right and doing what is right. And that people ask me, Gary, do you fear? Are you scared about, if you're in the middle of a forest and what's going to happen to you? And I fear not doing the right thing. That's what I fear, not doing the right thing. Russell Crowe, a beautiful mind, Gary. It's interesting. I presume. Thanks, Tony. I presume that's a compliment. It's interesting. Russell Crowe has literally just come on doing loads of videos, popping up on my YouTube, on my TikTok, and my mum, her employee, links to Ridley Scott very, very quickly. Well, Ridley Scott was the director of Gladiator with Russell Crowe in it. And Ridley Scott's brother Tony lived in Chatham, where I was born. And he actually committed suicide, I believe, in 2012, the year that CERN discovered the Higgs boson or God particle. And coming in from my dad's side, my dad's accountant connects to Eon Productions and to a Weinstein company. Eon Productions is the company that was behind the James Bond movies, which means it links in with the Flemings. So everyone around my life, for whatever reason, is implicated and involved in this, for whatever reason. Or not everyone, but most people that I've researched in my life are massively implicated in this. They've all been, for whatever reason, positioned around me throughout my life from when I was born. It's not just in the last few years. So yeah, it's mind blowing. But why would they drink the blood of the children? Yeah, I'm absolutely with you on that. I can't understand that. We can theorize. We can theorize that, it's to do with a belief. It's to do with maybe they believe it can extend their life. Are they addicted to it? Did it start with, progressive drugs leading into irrationality, and then someone offering them something, them not knowing it was blood, and then they've then continuously taken it? Is it that they believe that through the torture it will bring about the creator? Through that suffering, the creator will come. Maybe. Now, someone said, what do you think their ultimate aiming is all of this is? I think ultimately they want the creator to return. They want to find the creator, I think, in all of this. But I think they've gone about it the very wrong way, or it seems as though they've gone about it in completely the wrong way, of course. I can't understand why they would want to harm a child. Personally, I've come across the Monsters Inc. connection as well, coming in from Mark Steele. I've done research now on Mark Steele, more research on Sasha Stone, linking in with the guy and the research that he had, linking in with the intelligence agencies, ex-CIA. But when you're coming in from Mark Steele, I find a connection to Monsters Inc. with INK. Well, Monsters Inc. INC was about a load of monsters that would scare children and extract screams from those children to power the world. I mean, that was a clear sign of adrenochrome, of the blood of the children, extracting something from a child. And they even portray it as monsters. I mean, it's practically telling us. Well, that movie came out in 2001 in November, which was 2 months after the World Trade Center disaster. That's not going to be a coincidence, everybody. World Trade Center disaster is 100 absolute guarantee to do with what I'm talking about. 100%. When you realize that everyone is cloned and it's just called reincarnation. I don't believe is everyone cloned? Why? I don't think that can be the case, can it? Because why aren't I cloned? Why aren't I one of these people? I was in the police for 18 years. Why wasn't I infiltrated and corrupted to the point where I'm one of them now? Well, I've been around these people all of my life that are heavily implicated in this. Why am I the only one out of all of them that are coming up and doing anything? Why haven't they ever told me about any of it? Why haven't they tried involving me in it? Why haven't, not that I would have ever accepted a bribe, but why haven't they even tried bribing me? Not once. Not that I would have ever accepted it, but it's quite interesting. Why haven't they bribed me? They must know something about me. There's just too many things suggesting they know about me, whatever that is. And the fact that everyone's positioned. But going back to your question, or the cloning side of this, I can't ignore it. Is everyone a clone? It doesn't appear that way. Are many people going to be clones? Possibly. If cloning is real, the evidence I'm finding is supporting that it could be, that they've continued cloning. Adrenochrome, fountain of youth, allows them to keep their shape. Yeah, there is suggestion of this, that it keeps their youth. The other movie was Death Becomes Her, wasn't it, with Bruce Willis and Glenn Close, about the fluid that keeps their youth. Huge blood-related parenting rife, especially in criminal higher-ups. It's all in the Bible and other books they removed. They added and removed the true name of the Creator. The supposed bloodlines, they can have it. Look, we cannot allow these people to maintain control over the earth anymore. We cannot allow it. Even if everything has to end, we cannot allow this to carry on. We really can't. I can't do it myself, though. Now, I'm trying to get everybody behind me. If any of these groups that were compromised come forward, and whether they like me or not, and started using the evidence, I would be fully supportive of them. Even if they've been involved in the criminal network and the financial side of it, I would 100% support them. I would work with them no matter what they've done to me in the past. Even if people come forward and start getting behind the truth and to change the system forever to a new transparent system to safeguard children and humanity, then I will get behind those people. It's Satan's domain. Yeshua told us this in the Bible. Well, they want us to believe it's Satan's domain. All right, it's very clear from my evidence. They're setting it up to make me believe that's the case. Literally, there's things that are happening. There's an infiltration of the Church of Satan. It looks like Scott Chilton, for example, the Chief Constable of Dorset Police, who was the head of the Dorset Police at the time of my initial investigations, retired on the exact day that I released my evidence of the Satanic Temple United Kingdom. It's not a coincidence. They knew I'd see that. They knew I would find that out. What else happened? The day I released started releasing the blood of the evidence of the tortured children, the Satanic Temple United Kingdom dissolved. All right, they've timed it. They're timing these things deliberately to make me believe that it is Satan or satanic. Now, you had the death of the original founder of the Church of Satan in November 1997, October 1997, within 2 months of the death of Princess Diana. Now, if that wasn't staged, and let's just say that they did really die, then that appears to have been a potential infiltration of the Church of Satan leading into the World Trade Center disaster, when they then positioned a new high priest of the Church of Satan called Peter Gilmore in 2001. Well, Peter Gilmore, I've already researched through the Company's House records, links practically immediately with Dodi Al-Fayed. Also links in with, I haven't got my document in front of me, so I don't want to get this wrong. You've got a nuclear weapons company. It links in with hunters companies. All right, hunters companies, which I think is tying in with the hunting of the children, and therefore the blood of the children, and therefore the blood stock cover and the fox hunting cover with the horses, and the stud farming, etc., with the blood stock, and the fox hunting to cover the hunting of the children as well. What was it? There was something I was going to say there. I've lost my train of thought. Sorry. Vanessa asked me to print the documents for her. I've done it. Oh, amazing! Thank you. It's I would say the documents Mac version, when it's trouble is I'm adding to it all of the time. The other option is you can, produce little leaflets, get them distributed everywhere with my email address or whatever, so you can get people to try and contact me for the document. Gary Neville, what are we talking about? International government fraud that links to all of the world's problems, including the crimes against children. And this is 100% what the Jeffrey Epstein files are about. But the Jeffrey Epstein files are being used to conceal most of the real evidence, the bigger evidence in all of this, and how this ties in with the royal family, but also ties in with the Vatican and the falsified prophecies. Or it appears as though they're falsified prophecies. My phone is going to die and pass on to Valhalla. Oh yeah, thanks very much. Somebody mentioned what Kash Patel said when Charlie Kirk died. He made a reference in his speech when he announced the suspect in the fake. He didn't die. Charlie Kirk didn't die, everybody. And Kash Patel, who was positioned as the director of the FBI by Donald Trump last year, he came out and he mentioned Valhalla at the end of his speech. Well, I've found some Valhalla connections at key points throughout the research. Not a lot of them, but there is a company linked in with Valhalla. Gary, the type to park up at McDonald's and demand to pay cash at the tills. It's not going to be easy to dismantle something and replace it with what is a incredible task to do this. I don't know how humans can do it. It's not going to be easy to dismantle something and replace it with what it is. An incredible task. This is actually very simple to resolve. Very, very simple to resolve all of this. But by doing so, it will expose many people, and they know that. And they know that they will lose the manipulative and coercive, exploitative control over humanity they have had, right? Because a new system will enable that to happen. The exposure of all of them, and it will never be able to happen again. But they will lose control. And what you need is a system that protects the people against the leadership. That's what you need. And it's absolutely achievable through transparency, where the masses can become the auditors of the financial system, just through that transparency. If you're a leader of whether it be local, national, or international areas, and you know that everyone is able to see how you are helping make the decision to spend their money, then straight away you've got that safeguard. All right. So you know it can't be corrupted. That leader will be there without a motive for finances. It's easily done, everybody. Easily done. It's just a case of they don't want to do it. And so we have to force them to do it. What's happened to Barbara Kahan, Gary? We haven't heard about her since the new ID came in. That was just one example of a stolen identity or false identity or deceased identity being used in the verification element of the Companies House fraud. There are many, many names that are either made up, stolen identities, or variations of names. There's been no verification, so they're able to use false names. They're able to use variations of names. They're still able to do it because the verification process is fraudulent and they've set up. So they are still continuing full steam ahead with their agenda. So Barbara Can was a name that was highlighted by what's his name, Gordon Bowden, but it was one needle in a haystack. Taking this apart and replacing it with what is much worldwide, how would we be able to do this? Very simple. You have a transparent financial system, and what I mean by that, for example, for local public spending money, you would have an account that you log on to be able to view the money, collective money, every 6 months or whatever, going in relation to, for example, council tax, and then referenced expenditure, what is coming out of that account and how that money is being spent. That's just a very quick example of it. That means you become the auditor. Everybody has the ability to see it. Therefore, the leader knows that, and they know, well, I can't corrupt the money, can I? I can't. What can I do? I've got however many people keeping an eye on the money and how we're spending it. That's one example, and that is absolutely now critical that we have that, at least initially, on a transitional basis, while we try and iron out all of this. The other thing that I would advise is necessary is that there is a a sinking fund system within local, national, and international public spending money. So there is an agreed amount that needs to be kept in that account, and that be maintained, that everybody can see it, everybody be able to see it, and see how much is in there. Okay, and then that is maintained. So you would then have, for example, if there becomes an excess, then you would not pay anything into public spending until that starts, it becomes necessary. That's just one example in relation to the public spending side of things. That's now absolutely essential. The technology is there. Technology is there to do it. You've never had the ability to see the public spending purse at the source of the payments. You've always been given secondary figures that have been manipulated and altered and concealed. They knew it. They knew they'd be able to do it. Everybody, we've all fallen for it. We've all, we're talking trillions, multi-trillions of stolen from masses through tax and other financial institutions. But they'll be doing it through all the institutions, through the insurance policies. Right, so not only do you need the transparent system, you bring in the full, genuine verification system. Okay, it's not genuine what they're doing at the moment. It's all forgery. All right, you've got criminal companies verifying details for criminal companies and then telling Companies House they've verified them. Well, they're a criminal company. They're just going to lie. They haven't verified them. There'll be false details being used all the time still now. So you need to have the full verification process where those such as Companies House actually verify. All right, what they've said is there's a third party that can verify, but they're not saying it, but they're criminal organisations verifying the criminal organisations. They then just tell us, because we're Companies House, they just tell us, therefore that removes the accountability and accountability and liability from the government, because we're the government organisation. No, what has to happen is they become the verifiers. They have to say they verified the names and the details directly with the organisations that are incorporating. Right, now, if you do that along with the first thing I've said, you've almost eliminated all money laundering around the world. You've then eliminated the motive for all of the world's problems, all right, because this is a problem, reaction, solution, criminal network. All the time they maintain a problem, they can request more money from you to facilitate their criminal network. Start small and local, perhaps. I keep leaving really good comments, but I never seem to get feedback. Oh, sorry, Anthony, I don't know if I've missed something. I haven't, I might have missed some comments. I've just sent my AI logic to the Alan Turing Institute for peer reviewing. It's a forensic audit logic that will make any police body camera or a government transaction accountable. Well, that sounds good. That sounds good, Squirrel Sniper. Squirrel Sniper. Dear. There's me talking about animal welfare. That's interesting. Okay, I'm going to screenshot that. Just replied to your posts. Gary, Pilgrim Society, very important. Have you looked into them? No, hopefully I've answered your question. I've screenshotted it. 10p a copy. I'm going to need to save up or write it by hand. Yeah, Lisa, it's a big document. Well done you for printing it, though. Well done. Thank you very much. Can the public it's Starmer on citizen's arrest? Can the public arrest Keir Starmer, do you mean? 100%. Anybody can be arrested via a citizen's arrest for an indictable offence if you're in England or Wales, Section 24A of the Police and Criminal Evidence Act 1984. I don't advise at the moment that anyone tries to arrest the Prime Minister. Okay, you need to think logically and practically and strategically. The solicitors are centralised to the bar, okay, the Temple Bar. The Temple Bar links into the research of the Paedophile Information Exchange, the PIE, or PI, which then links in with Sweeney Todd. They actually created a Sweeney Todd group on Companies House, which is where all the centralised criminal solicitors, the main ones, are involved in that organisation. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. And if you don't know what Sweeney Todd is, it's a barber that used to slut. It was a tail character, and they slit people's throats, put them in the basement, and then the bodies were put in pies. PIE. Well, they used to eat pies at the Temple Bar, the members of Parliament, on Fleet Street. And where is Sweeney Todd based? Fleet Street. It's all in the document, everyone. If you want the document, email me, GaryTheTruthSetsUsFree@gmail.com. GaryTheTruthSetsUsFree@gmail.com. You can then just search Sweeney Todd, and you'll be able to see all of the evidence on Sweeney Todd. Gary, have you ever watched the movie called Jupiter Ascending? Yes, I have seen it. Yes, I have seen it. I can't remember a lot of it, but I have seen it. Channing Tatum. I'm presuming it's relevant to all of this, but it was I saw it before all of this, so I'll have to try and watch it again, maybe. Gary, your thoughts on Sir Francis Bacon principles on forensic work? I'm not aware of that, I'm afraid. Sorry. I don't know what that is. Thank you so much. I really, that's you talking to somebody else. Look at a hypodermic needle point. It's just like a snake fang. The One World Freedom Tower looks like a hypodermic needle. It has the point at the top. The television, when I've researched the television, it connects to the Kazakhstan, but the company name is Kazakh something society. Is it Anglo-Kazakh Society? Kazakhstan is actually very important in all of this. If you're not aware, the pyramid there, the pyramid of something of peace. Can't remember the full name of it. Very, very relevant in all of this. All right, and it actually ties in with Sweeney Todd, believe it or not, with what I'm talking about, because when you research the Sweeney Todd group, it links in with Sacha Baron Cohen via the research. Well, Sacha Baron Cohen also done a movie called Borat. Borat is about Kazakhstan, and Kazakhstan is where they have this pyramid, which is a something of peace, but it's where the faith groups meet a lot now. Apparently, the international faith groups. With one another, because this is ridiculous, because no structure is taking place. Well, look, you have the ability to have a document, to see the evidence, see a strategy, and decide if you're going to follow out that strategy. It's the only strategy. No other strategy is going to work. You can't go through the criminal legal system. Okay, you can't do it. They won't commit international suicide. They'll get rid of anyone that tries to do it, probably. Okay, they're not going to do it, or they'll just say it's not guilty. All right, so the only strategy is what I'm suggesting. I've thought of absolutely everything. There's no other way. So it's up to you, Anthony. I can't meet with people, all right, because I need to continue the exposure. But you can, because you're not building the evidence. So you can form groups, you can look at my evidence, and you can work out a strategy. And if you come up with a better one, let me know. Have a look at the Scottish councils, all links to one company, all the service privatised from homeless. Yeah, I've actually seen this previously. I haven't put it in my document, but I have seen it. All the councils, everyone needs to understand, all the government organisations have been set up around this international government fraud. This goes back a very long time. They realised if they could set this up, then they could exploit and victimise all of humanity with a very small number of people maintaining control, all right, and exploit people through it. This is what they've done. Did I look up 1776? No, I haven't had a chance, I'm afraid. I can't remember what you said last time, whether it's to do with the American Constitution, is it? Are the Greys just a deception? I don't know a lot about the Greys, but I've heard a lot of things about different giants and different types of species, and I think some of it could be true, but a lot of it will be speculation, wouldn't it? I think the trouble is this system of fraud gives the ability, or the motivates a lot of lies. So, and this includes the lies of our history, the lies about our planet, the lies about how many people there are, the lies about space. It provides, and it's almost as if they love to deceive humanity, like a mockery, a mocking of humanity. Are they even going to realise that we're winding them up and that we are lying to them? A great example, I think, is the 25th of December, 25th of December. Which I think is a complete mockery. I don't think that's anything to do with Jesus's birth or whatever, or death. I think it's literally made up and linking in with, it actually looks as though it's tying in with Saturnalia and a date when potentially they were sacrificing children, which means it's a complete mockery against all of you, because what they're doing is watching you all celebrate a day when potentially the most innocent of all are being tortured and sacrificed. What time? I'm probably going to head off soon. Is it true there's a CERN under New York? According to the research, yeah, there is. It's not called CERN. CERN is the organisation that oversees the Large Hadron Collider in Geneva. I don't know if they'll have something to do with it, obviously. It's called the Relativistic Heavy Ion Collider. So if you type that in, you'll be able to read all about it. Relativistic Heavy Ion Collider, RHIC. It's called the Relativistic Heavy Ion Collider. It was under New York, and it started to be built in 1991. And it was actually first activated, according to the research, in 2000, the year before the World Trade Center disaster. And it happens to be in New York, where the World Trade Center is. Is that a coincidence? So they first tested it the year before, and then the year afterwards, the building collapses. Is Stephen Greer implicated? I haven't done enough research on him to confirm. I anticipate he possibly is. He's the guy talking about the aliens, isn't he? A lot. I would be very, very skeptical about any disclosure on aliens, okay, because I was being driven to that by people implicated in the international government fraud and linked into the intelligence agencies. And what the alien deception will do is allow the ability for lots of false stories and a way of them to deal with the disclosure of the criminal system they've had in place. Right, so, for example, they could say, and they've actually tried it with me already, oh, people are being taken from the planet that are involved in this. They're no longer a threat. Yeah, right. So what they can then do is change their identities, change locations, go and live in their tunnel systems, and we just think that they're gone and that it's okay. It's not going to happen, I'm afraid. All right. If they go in the tunnel systems, they're going to flood anyway. I'm almost certain they're all going to reach the end of their demise by trying to save themselves going into any tunnel system, if that's what they're thinking. This is why I believe Exborn Manor means stay out of the water. When you translate it, I think it was in Latin, first name, Exborn running forward, Manor backwards, stay out of the water. I tried loads of different variations to see what else, and then that would make sense, wouldn't it? If and then I had information that the tunnels will be flooded, and I do believe they're going to be flooded if they try and save themselves in the tunnel system. So, so it also gives the ability for them to stage an event, doesn't it? So if they say that there's aliens and there's some sort of massive event, they then can take out a vast amount of humanity, say that it's aliens, okay, as some sort of reset of control, or they could make it look like an event, and then they prevent or resolve that event, and then you then turn to them and trust them. I just don't believe there's too many things that I've seen within my evidence that suggest they're setting it up as a fake alien invasion. And I had someone saying that the 3I Atlas comet, that when that came, that took a load of people off of the Earth, those that were involved in this. What a load of rubbish. 3I Atlas, I don't believe that even existed. I'm sorry. This is why you've got 3I companies all the way through this research. 3 I's. And you've actually got an Atlas company with a director within that linked to a 3I company. I think they've literally just seen the company. What can we call this Atlas? I know. 3I Atlas linking in with this fraud. Let's see if Gary picks up on it. Let's see if he notices. I tell you what, a lot of this is probably that it's just a mockery. They love the deception. They love the inversions. They love laughing at everybody. This is the sort of evil we're dealing with here, where they're just not. There's no basis of truth. There's no basis of truth in anything they're doing, and that is the opposite of creation. Therefore, it's against the Creator, and therefore it is, I believe, evil. Look up the 7 assemblies in Revelation. There's your answer. Gary, I can't believe they are telling true stories through Spider-Man. I don't know. I haven't seen. I've missed a comment. Don't know what they've said through Spider-Man, but Del Boy be trotting off when his NDA expires. Anyway, now he fooled us. National treasure, sir. The IPCC reports upheld regarding the Hampstead case. So much ignored by so many. Consume, milking, torture, fear, feel confusion, ignorance, and fear. Rupert Lowe. Rupert Lowe is massively implicated in the crimes against humanity. I've already done the research. Do not even go anywhere near. Oh, they're all involved, everybody. Rupert Lowe links to criminal firearms companies in the same county where my brother-in-law lives, whose family's linked to the main Freemason lodge. You go in through there and you hit the hunting. And there's fraud straight away from Rupert Lowe. Multiple connections to fraud. He's actually linked in to, is it him? 95% sure, Southampton Football Club. Football clubs are massively implicated. The whole grooming gang is a fabricated, manipulated deception, all right, to distract and dissuade from the real issue in all of this. They're all involved in the crimes against children, or at least a system of crime that deliberately facilitates the crimes against children. All right, they're all involved, everyone. You need to understand this. They've had 700 years at least to position everybody around the world as part of this deception. You cannot believe a word they say until they come out and say, all right, we've had a criminal financial system in place that has deliberately facilitated the world's problems and the crimes against children. All right, but we're going to resolve it. All right, this is what we're going to do. We're going to resign. We're going to do stage resignations, a transitional system into a new earth, all right, of transparency where nobody's going to be able to do what we've done again. All right, it will safeguard humanity, safeguard children. So, words to that effect. Yeah, Rupert Lowe is massively complicated. Stargate key. Oh, I don't know about the key. I know about Stargate. It was announced by Donald Trump in this is how important this was to them. Donald Trump became the president for the 47th president. 4 and 7 equals 11. 45th before. 4 and 5 equals 9. That's 9/11, everybody. It's not a coincidence. He was positioned fraudulently, deliberately, as part of the agenda. Anyway, he became the 47th president on the 20th of January last year. On the 21st, the day afterwards, is when he announced the Stargate project involving Oracle, OpenAI, and what was the other organization? There was at least 3. They're all linked straight into the fraud, and most of them straight to Export Manor, where my investigations began. And that was going to be $900 billion, I think, billion dollars being used towards that project, and how it links with vaccines, I believe, and artificial intelligence. And that was going to be funded up until 2029. Well, within there, there's references when you go in and do the research on Stargate. There's references to motherships and aliens. All right, I believe that was deliberately staged and set up. The original Stargate came out in not the movie. Well, the movie came out in 1994, and on my birthday, and that was about portals linking in with Egypt. But there was a Stargate project that came out in 1977, the year I was born, and that involved the US president at the time, I can't remember what his name was, and remote viewing. So having the ability to look through remotely people's eyes and vision. Well, that came out in 1977, the year that I was born. So I don't know what the Stargate key is, though. I failed also with habit addiction to those and other specific substances also. I humbly accepted my failure and changed. Healed, healing, working, ever more focused. That's amazing, Jake. Well done. You should be absolutely so proud of yourself. I'm proud of you. I don't even know you, but that is amazing. Well done. Because I can imagine, it's not easy to overcome something like that. So that's incredible. And, that's what we need for everybody. There'll be a lot of people addicted because of this criminal network that's in place. And a lot of them will be wanting me gone because they'll be thinking, oh, my goodness me, if this stops, where am I going to get my drugs from? And, we're going to help you. You're all going to be helped. All right, because there's going to be so much funding available once this criminal network has been sorted out, that there will be a suitable rehabilitation program in place. At the moment, the rehabilitation programs are compromised because it's a problem reaction solution criminal network. So they actually don't want everybody to rehabilitated because they're behind the substance abuse in the first place. All right, and what you can see, it's a vicious circle. So they can request more money from everybody by saying there's a drugs problem, we need more rehabilitation, but then they're compromised, and it's a conflict of interest because they actually don't want to resolve it. So as soon as you get rid of the system of fraud, then straight away you have, all right, through the people that would be hopefully the better leadership, that have a moral conscience and a rational way of thinking, will actually want to resolve all of the world's problems and will want to resolve the drugs issue and the addictions. Until this system of crime, the company's house fraud, is resolved, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. You're going to have the drug addicts. In fact, it's going to escalate. It's will be massive. All right, even if you're just talking on the sort of lower level substances. Now, a lot of people are going to say, yeah, but it's good, it helps you relax. And look, anything that blurs the mind, I believe, that's been given to you by the creator, which keeps you thinking rationally and clearly, and moral conscience as your foundation, is not good for the human mind, right? Because then you start slipping into sin, whether you like it or not, whether you realize it or not. All right, we've all been in a position where we're not thinking rationally, whether we've had a drink, or it might be that somebody's had some sort of substance, or they're just tired from work and they've spoken to someone in a way that they would never normally speak to them. And then they have to apologize and they feel guilty. And sometimes it's much more extreme than that because of the irrationality. As soon as you have the rationality and the clarity, and therefore I want to treat everyone how I want to be treated, and I'll be able to do that because I'm thinking rationally, until we get to that point, we're going to have problems. We're going to have problems. Well, the whole system is based on the opposite. The whole system is about removing rationality because it's a problem, reaction, solution, criminal network. They have to have the problems to create the laundering of the money. Remove the P from pharmacy. It's harmacy. Big harmer. Yeah. Yeah. Someone's put, we can heal self. Yeah, many people can heal themselves. Okay, but some people need the guidance and the trouble is, if the guidance is corrupted, the money or the criminal network, then the guidance is not going to work, is it? Why do you think the children in our schools are killing each other? And no one seems to be happy anymore because of the system that's in place. Exactly because of what I'm trying to resolve. It's all because of this. Everything is because of this, everyone. The mental health issues, the drugs issues, the alcohol issues, the crime issues, the conflicts, the terrorism, the crimes against children. It's all because of this, everyone. 100%. 100%. It's linking in with the Satanic Temple, United Kingdom, and falsified prophecies. Everybody, they are leading us into falsified prophecies. In other words, escalating us into a sinful hell on earth situation. That's what they're deliberately doing. It's very obvious, right? They control all information. If they control all information, why are they allowing degrading, harmful pornography to be available to everybody? Why don't they stop that? And why are they now escalating it? All right, it's harmful to humanity. It's harmful to relationships. They're allowing it. Why do you think they're allowing almost pornography now on social media? It's almost pornography. Okay, these are people linking into the religious establishments that are part of this. They are leading us into falsified prophecies. All right, normalizing the sin, normalizing the corruption. You then start to not understand. Obviously, it becomes confusing to us then, because we're seeing all of this, what we know to be wrong, and all of this depression, and all of this anxiety, and all of these problems, which of course means it escalates. It's a snowball effect. This is by design. It's very obvious. This is what they're doing. Into falsified prophecies. So in answer to your question, The children are being corrupted through the system, through the education. You've got organisations such as Mind, a mental health organisation that was founded in 1946, the same year that UNICEF was founded, which supposedly children. It was all set up deliberately to do the opposite. It's obvious now. It's all linked in with this criminal network. I've got the evidence. The Tavistock Institute, I think, was founded in 1946. That was then integrated into the NHS. That's a mind control program. It's all linking in with the Vatican. This all goes back into the Vatican, the Church of England, falsifying the prophecies, deliberately by design, and then infiltrating the Church of Satan to make it seem like it's satanic and Satan, because it fits the prophecies that way. I've already had a key and a white stone with a name written on it. It's a birth certificate name. Killing and murder are different. I personally, I don't believe we should kill anything. That's my personal opinion. And I think there's a lot of people that are starting to realise that. Because if you, and you know, I understand this is a difficult conversation, but as soon as you start making it okay to end life, any life, then you devalue life, and it becomes a slippery slope. This is probably a big part of the way why we're in this situation, because these people don't value life, clearly. Okay, they don't value other lives. It even says in if you haven't seen the chronological order of things that have happened, just quickly, because I'm going to be touching on it. 1951, the Stone of Crone appears to have gone missing. The Stone of Crone, or the Stone of Destiny, was a stone that was required to make the connections, I believe, with the moral conscience and the royalty. That got stolen from Westminster in 1951. It was broken into parts. Part of it ended up in a field in Kent, which is no coincidence, I believe, bearing in mind you're talking about the infiltration of the royal family with the Crays. Crays were massively involved in Kent, and it's where Canterbury is, which is the Archbishop of Canterbury, which is massively linked in with all of this. Anyway, the stone got stolen. 1951, that happened. 1953, the Queen was coronated with what looks like a fake stone, all right, which means there was a separation from moral conscience with the leadership of the world in relation to the royal family from that point. 1953 is when the MK Ultra program began, which stemmed from Operation Paperclip, linking in with the Nazi regime, which goes right back, if you go back further, to 1870, the infiltration of the Vatican. But 1940s, Operation Paperclip began, where they took people from the Nazi regime, including Werner von Braun, brought him over to America. He became involved in rocket fuel engines. He knew Hitler. He knew Walt Disney, and he's linked to the Flemings, and the Flemings are all linking in with the Cray twins in all of this. That then became a mass non-consensual experimentation on the masses using various techniques, leading into the MK Ultra program. The MK Ultra program started in 1953, the same year that the Queen was coronated, who I believe is a fake queen. 1954 is when CERN was founded, the company that is behind the Large Hadron Collider. But also in that same year, it appears that a document called The Silent Weapons of Quiet Wars, I think it was either produced that year or it was produced slightly before, I can't remember. In that document, it mocks humanity. And one of the things it says, it talks about the killing of animals. And it says, talks about us as, derogatory towards most humans, because most humans will not kill an animal when they expect other people to kill those animals so that they can eat them. And I personally don't believe we need to kill any. That's my personal view. And I think as soon as you value all life, then you become in tune with the Creator, and you become in tune with moral conscience, and therefore you maintain that clarity and you value all of life. Jesus was innocent. Anthony, Rome wasn't built in a day. They're coming for all of us. Yeah, even those involved in the international government fraud are going to be victimized by this. All right. In theory, now a lot of people on here are going to say, well, it's Satan. In theory, you can have one person at the head of all of this now with their finger on the button to do with the cell towers, as an example, okay, that are going to press that button and end all life on Earth through the cell tower technology, how that links in with CERN. In theory, that could be what they've done. All right, the cell towers are massively part of this. That links in with the collider technology. There's loads of evidence in relation to cell towers I'm finding all of the time, and it's the threat of directed energy appears to be real. Whether that is a threat to control you, a threat to harm you physically or psychologically, I don't believe it's good. And in theory, you could have one person now in control, ready to press that button, activate whatever it is they've got all around the world now. Okay, and we're talking about even in the middle of valleys, in the middle of nowhere. I've been on my phone, okay, and I've had a signal with no one, there's nothing around, in the middle of nowhere. All right, this threat is everywhere. It's everywhere now. So in theory, you're all going to be victimized by this. That is what my evidence says, is that the whole world, and in fact all of creation, could be victimized. And along the way, what they have done is possibly promised salvation, promised positions of power, promised positions of influence to gain this ability of full control. Said that there's going to be a natural apocalyptic event, but say you and your family will be safe. We've got a position for you in the tunnel system to maintain that element of control and deception. But absolutely, pretty much everyone, I think, is going to be victimized by this if we don't resolve this. One way or another, we're all being victimized. Even those that are feeling the guilt but can't find a way out of this are being victimized. Those that are being coercively controlled or manipulated to be part of this are being victimized. People that are in so deep and they've become involved with such heinous activities, but they don't want to be part of it anymore. They're now becoming victims because they don't know how to get out of it. They don't know how to separate from it. Their lives may be at risk if they do. Everyone is being victimized in some way, shape or form because of this company's house fraud. It is the key, 100%. And all the time people don't focus on it and don't use it as the key, you're never going to get out of this. It is the key to open the door to get out of this entire system. But if people aren't doing it, there's only so much I can do. Safe as the Black Vault Voya disclosure, guys. Your Google CIA disclosures erased by Google getting into a deleted entire docs. No covering. They also say it is the jabs. Ground Zero, Kane. Surname equals Mark of the Beast. Someone's put surname equals Mark of the Beast. Living in fear feeds them also. It's hard, but have good thoughts. Yeah, absolutely. It's very important you don't have fear. You know, we're talking about some difficult subjects here. And, one of the biggest things to worry about is fear of what will happen to them personally. Look, if you're going to be worrying about you when there's children, many children appear to be being tortured, potentially skinned alive, and you're worrying about you and whether you're going to have a bill and whether you can stop complying, or, it's ludicrous. You're part of the problem. You're part of the problem. It's unreal. You've got to put this into perspective. When you have children, the most vulnerable of all, who haven't even had a chance to live a life at risk. And we're not talking about one child here, according to the research. We're talking about many, many, many children. You have to be willing, if necessary, to lose practically everything to help those children. It's the only right answer, isn't it? If you were to say, look, if there's 1,000 children that are 5 years old, and you have to make the choice between you or those children, it's not a nice decision to make, but you know what the right answer is. Now, if you continue to choose the wrong answer, what are you doing? You're setting yourself up for judgment. You're setting yourself up to be a victim in all of this. Not only that, you are becoming a problem to the whole resolution of this. and you actually become complicit to the crimes. Because you have to be willing to step outside of that selfishness and put everything on the line if necessary for the sake of the most innocent of all. Oh, you know, I was, where was it? I was walking yesterday. I was like, I wonder how many people, if I said to them, look, if you had to not comply to resolve this, would you just go and live in a tent? Would you live in a tent to save all of these children? And I bet most people would say no. Now, is that the right answer? Of course it's not. Of course it's not the right answer. I'm in a tent. I've survived. It's actually been quite nice in some respects, being in nature. A bit uncomfortable at times. Would I change what I've done? 100% no. 100% no. It's the only right thing for me to do at the moment. It's not something I've ever done before. I've never lived in it. I've been in a tent for 5 months now. I went through the winter, and I'm not trying to, this isn't about me. I'm just telling you what people need to be willing to take a chance and to put themselves in an uncomfortable situation to resolve this. Those of you that are just in a house and like worried about paying your bills, or worried about getting an extra bill or a warning or a fine or whatever, or getting a knock at the door. My goodness me, it's gone past that now. It's unbelievable. You've got to save the children. How does Christianity promote zero unlawful killing if even your supposed Lord got deaded? I'm not talking about Christianity. I'm not saying Christianity now. Well, I am, because it says thou shalt not kill, but supposedly it says that. I don't believe personally, not because of Christianity. I just don't believe that killing is the right thing. It just doesn't fit right with me. In whichever way I look at killing, it's not good to me. I'm a keen gardener. Remember when that guy secretly filmed that Pfizer employer? No, I don't actually. Somebody's put Yashua. I always say it wrong. Yashua. I'm saying it wrong, I know. Was hung on a stake, not a cross. We have all been double crossed with all religions. Yeah, somebody else has said that. It might have been you that said that, Starry Hill. Yeah, the double crossed thing. That's a bit of a mockery, isn't it? I actually thought I found some cow connections through the research. So there's like a company called the Sacred Cow. There's companies called Baby Cow. They're coming in. They're at key parts in the research. There's another cow, and I think they are references to children. And then I thought, well, what about when if they're talking about children of potentially as cows or cattle, then that explains potentially the slaughtering of them as well, and the blood, and how they're looking at them potentially as a commodity, or not a equal human to them, shall we say. And I then thought, well, I wonder if the whole wait till the cows come home is like another symbology talking about the children as well somehow. I don't know, but I was thinking that the other day. Got to be family influence. We must wake up. It's the most important time in human history. Absolutely, faith defender. Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. I really think we are living in the most important time in human history. And I think how it is shaped depends on people's actions. Everyone says, well, raise your frequency. All we need to do is raise your frequency. It's all in hand with the creator. What? It does make me laugh, because this is exactly the sort of things that they'd want people to do, isn't it? Just wait. It's all going to be all right. God wins. a lot of people say God wins. Well, I've been told God actually means gold, oil, and drugs, and that's another mockery. And every time you're saying God, you're actually talking about the criminal system they're on about. Would not surprise me at all. But you know, just everything's going to be all right. Just have faith, and you don't need to do anything. Just have faith. Well, that's exactly what they want us to believe, isn't it? It's exactly what they want us to believe. That gives them the ability to set up a falsified prophecy event, okay? And you do nothing to stop it. Well, we know these people aren't working on behalf of the Creator, right? Because they're against moral conscience. The whole system they've got in place is a lie. It's a deception. So yeah, we are living in the most important time in history, and I think it's going to be shaped by the decisions of, I was going to say that the few, but you know, the majority really. Tree of Life in Disney's Animal Kingdom. Everyone ignores my prophecy, but you will all see I'm not the crazy one. I am a seer. I cannot comprehend cruelty at all. I watch horses starved from slaughter, and they state they are in us. Pitiful. It is pitiful. It makes me so sad to think of any suffering of any living creature. It's just awful. And one of the hardest things for me was my dog being taken from me, and I still have no idea if Rosie, my dog, is alive or not. I last saw my dog on the 19th of September when I was arrested last year. And even my evil, and I'm going to call her evil wife, Lisa Morton, because there is no other explanation. If it's true, she took her. I had a video confirming that Rosie's alive. I suspect she was killed deliberately because I suspect they didn't believe I was going to get out of prison. But this is the sort of people we're dealing with here. It's pure evil. Yes, Thomas has put, do I like cheese? Yes, I know. This is one thing I need to work on. One of the things I do eat is cheese. But, you know, I don't exactly... I presume cheese can be taken, not in the way it is at the moment, but can be taken without causing any potential suffering to an animal. But, yeah, this is something I do need to think about. But I don't eat any meat. You know, I certainly don't eat any meat. And well, the only time I did in about 8 years was when I was in prison, because there was no other, and I don't normally eat meat, you know, but I even said, can I have vegetarian, and they just ignored it. So I think they were deliberately putting me in that position. What's my favourite band? I don't listen to a lot of music, to be honest with you, but I quite like Ed Sheeran's music. Trying to think, actually. Who else do I like? I haven't listened to music much at all. I know a lot of the music's going to be part of this criminal system. Lots of people know of you. Well, not enough. And I mean, it's not about knowing me. It's about knowing the evidence. You know, it's all very well knowing my name and, you know, knowing about me. But if you're not aware of the evidence and seeing the corruption and me proving the corruption, then my name means nothing. It's the evidence that's going to change this. I come with that evidence. I'm just the messenger with that evidence. But, you know, there should be loads of people what I'm doing now. There should be loads of people. I've been trying to get people to do it. 1776, Heidi was a adult displacement, a reset. Again, like what is happening in a city near you soon. So you think William's saying they're going to do a reset in a city, in the cities, with the cell towers, I presume. Love the music Gary puts on his TikTok clips. Really heroic. I'll just choose the music that they've. Well, I go through it a little bit and sort of try and choose one that's going to have a bit more of an impact. But Hi, Gary. I'm from Medway too, like you. Hope you're well, mate. Oh, that's great. Hi, Arsenal. Yeah, I was born in Chatham. I lived in Walderslade when I was a child, near it was actually, I can say actually, kind of, it was Forest Drive where I lived in Walderslade. You might, I don't know if you know that. Forest Drive is where I first lived. Then I lived in Kithill Avenue, which was a different bit of Walderslade. And then I moved. Where did I go after that? Oh, then I went to Erith near London for about a year, and then I was living in Rochester for quite a long time. Is where I lived in Rochester. Rochester's quite a nice place actually. It actually becomes very, very important, Rochester, because of the Charles Dickens link, which is in my evidence. Charles Dickens is really important in all of this. Yeah, I'm in a tent. Yeah, I've been in a tent since someone's put you in a tent, just camping wild. Like, yep. So I've been in a tent since the 1st of October. Britons turn their back on nature as soon as the expected Middle East madness. Are you Thomas? No, I'm Gary. I've lost my life to knowledge, and I've gotten on drugs and drink. Lost carrier, my child taken. All I wanted to do was get further onto social work. I'd be one. What could change system? How is it not so? I'm sorry to hear about that. Well, you're not alone. You know, there's so many people have fallen into, through their circumstances, difficult times in their life, and I'm really sorry of what you've gone through. Please hang on to hope in all of this. You know, there is still hope, and all the time there's hope, then there's a chance, and this is why it's important for, you know, the likes of myself and others that are coming forward and trying to actually give a strategy, for example, to resolve this, give evidence, talk about the corruptions, talk about the truth as to what's really going on, and really say, look, there is a chance that this can all be resolved. And I wouldn't be doing this if I didn't think this was absolutely 100% possible with the evidence that we've got here now to empower humanity and change everything forever. But it's not going to be great for the likes of us that are alive now. Whichever way you look at this, it's going to be a very rocky road. But we've got to think of the next generations. And we need to think of getting a system in place whilst we can to prevent this suffering ever happening again for anyone else. And I believe that's 100% possible. I heard the British police had to declare if they were Freemasonry. Yeah, so that was only recently brought in after the Daniel Morgan murder. But that's a cover-up. It's they had to come out and make it sound as though they were doing something about Freemasonry. Well, that's not enough, is it? The Freemasons are supposedly trying to sue. I haven't read the latest, but they're trying to sue the Metropolitan Police for trying that. They're all working collaboratively together. They're all working together. It's just an absolute mockery. It really, really is a mockery. Freemasons are massive. I'm coming across Freemason companies all the time in the research with the blood of the children, crimes against humanity. They're massively implicated in this. Jimmy Savile's linked straight to the main Freemason lodge. But yeah, they came out. That was a result of the Daniel Morgan inquiry, supposedly. Well, the Daniel Morgan murder is massively part of all of this. It's huge. It makes so many connections through my research. I've done quite a lot of research through the Daniel Morgan murder, and it links to other murders. It links into terrorist incidents, mass shootings. It links into the Russian government, North Korean leader, the taxation system, royal family, all tying in with these murders because of this fraud. 100%. If the murders are real, I have to consider that some of the murders are staged and fake and not even real. But let's at the moment, let's presume that they are real, because that's what they're telling us. So take a bit of time off, Gary. Someone's put. I can't. I need to get this done. What I'm going to do is get the document out. at the next stage of the document, and then I'm just going to think very carefully, and I might have a little break then and just really think about my next step and think about what I'm going to be doing next. So yeah, that'll be a good, but until I've got that document out, which I'm hoping it's going to be tomorrow, I really hope, I can't relax, unfortunately. I need to get that out. Thoughts on Jewish people? Well, there's definitely a massive Judaism connection in all of this. However, I think it's an infiltrated Judaism. Okay, and the reason I say that is there's a company specifically called the Jewish Community Centre UK, and on there it links to Ghislaine Maxwell practically immediately via the Charles Darwin Trust. Well, the Charles Darwin Trust relates to the theory of evolution. So if you were truly a member of the Judaism faith, for example, why would you have a legal and financial connection to the theory of evolution, which would disprove all faiths? It just doesn't make sense. Well, that document makes critical connections. It links to Gerald McCann. It makes multiple connections to the royal family. It makes connections to, what's his name? Richard Branson, the Virgin Foundation, which links into the apparent crimes against the children in a massive, massive way, tying back in with Sherborne, again, which we said about earlier, and artificial intelligence and the leader of Qatar. So, yes, they seem to be wanting it to seem like Judaism is a massive part of this. Now, that would be because it fits the falsified prophecies again, but it looks as though they've set it up to look like the prophecies, and look like Judaism is the driving, one of the driving faith groups in relation to this. So, but they're all faith groups are implicated. I mean, you've even got multi-faith groups connected into this. Coexist is a multi-faith organization linking in with David Lammy's wife, and there's multi-faith groups that were there was a meeting, for example, with Pietro Parolin and the Pope and what's his name, Jeff Bezos, who founded, or did he found Amazon? I think he founded it. Anyways, big with Amazon. And that happened in October 2022 as I was exposing the international government fraud. So they basically convened this big interfaith meeting as I was coming out with a massive criminal network linking in with the Vatican and the crimes against children, and tying in with the Church of England. And Jeff Bezos, when I searched him on Companies House, straight away on the address for the company, Christchurch in Dorset, literally where I was working in the police. So they've done that deliberately, it seems, to make me realise probably my significance in all of this. Now, that was October 2022, and that links in with the research of that links in with the 3-Eye Atlas and in with the prophecy of the popes. The 3-Eye Atlas was the comet that they supposedly discovered, as I've said earlier, in July 2025, last year. They spotted that, supposedly. I believe it was a deception. I don't believe it even existed. And that same month is when, for the first time since 1947, De La Rue, the main currency producer for the entire world, was acquired by an organization called Atlas Holdings. Well, Atlas Holdings Limited had already been linked into missing nuclear weapons from the 1980s, supposedly. They tried making me believe that was involved in a potential threat of nuclear war as a result of all of this. But that was purchased by De La Rue was purchased by Atlas Holdings, according to the research, the first time since 1947. 1947 was when De La Rue went on the London Stock Exchange. That's the same year that the Doomsday Clock began, which was started originally by Einstein. So the Doomsday Clock began, which is a clock face that counts down the time, and when the two hands hit midnight, it will be a doomsday situation on Earth, whatever that means. That doesn't necessarily mean the end of the world. So yeah, this was a massive time, because July, that happened, okay, which meant that they was seriously planning something. They had the 3-Eye Atlas come out, first time since 1947. The currency producer got taken off the London Stock Exchange, first time since 1947. I mean, that's massive. That's massive. And they also announced a new head of the military being positioned, called Richard Knighton, that same month, and he came in position into power, or into his position, in September, I believe. And he's linked into the key areas of the fraud, tying in with the Satanic Temple United Kingdom. So they would have known that I would have found that. So they wanted me to find a Satanic Temple connection in to the new head of the military, linking in with the missing nuclear weapons. Okay, they wanted me to think that there was going to be a potential end of world situation in all of this. This is supported by lots of other evidence as well. But Atlas, so not only did you have Atlas Holdings acquired De La Rue, they publicised they found Atlas, 3i Atlas, the same month. It's just unbelievable. So where was I going with that? Anyway, I can't remember what else I was going to say with that. There's going to be loads I was going to say. Forgotten. Gary, the Isle of Wight. Oh, you've reminded me. The Isle of Wight. The little girl they are torturing her made her do sign language so they can talk quietly. The mum is in prison, is begging for someone to help her. Yeah, I'm aware, Jackie. I think they're all linked in with the intelligence agencies, and it's all part of this. I've done some evidence around Juliette Lewin and the link into Sasha Stone and Deborah Evershed, and I believe it was set up deliberately as part of some sort of deception in relation to all of this. I've just put it in my document. I believe she was positioned to contact me in early 2024 by the intelligence agencies. And there is a suggestion, I'm not saying it is the case, but if you look at an image of Juliette Lewin, oh, bear with me, sorry. If you look at an image of Juliette Lewin, which is the lady sat next from the Isle of Wight, she looks exactly like Virginia Giuffre. Literally the spitting image. Somebody else said this, said, Gary, I think that's Virginia Giuffre. And with the evidence I've now acquired, I have to seriously consider it. Because I believe that there are dual roles, or it looks as though there's dual roles potentially being carried out. Now, it could be that those dual roles are deliberately being portrayed to cover up real murders, i.e. Virginia Giuffre. But the evidence is pretty interesting, tying in with Juliette now from Deborah Evershed into Sasha Stone, into the intelligence agencies and into the Vatican, which suggests that potentially that is all part of the deception. So I put it all in my document now. I've put a picture of Juliette Lewin in my document next to Virginia Giuffre and explained it all and put it into my document. So that'll be going out hopefully tomorrow. For what I think is a drone about a mile away, it doesn't sound right for a helicopter shining a light into the ground. For what I think is a drone about a mile away. I missed some of your comments. For what I think you've done more and have been stripped of all but your morals and soul. Thank you for your comments, really appreciate it. It's not been an easy journey for me, I can tell you that, but there's been some interesting experiences. I've only said it once before, but I'm laughing about it, and I was actually laughing about it back then, but this is the sort of thing I've had to deal with. So when I first got out of prison, I went to a particular location and I was trying to do all of my research and continue the exposure, and I came back one night to my tent and it was flooded in 3 foot of water. This was about 11:30, 12 o'clock at night, so I had literally nowhere to stay. So I slept under a tree that night. Luckily it was when it wasn't very cold. And then it was days, I had to go and buy another tent, and it was days before I could go and salvage any of my stuff from that. It was the only area in this whole big bit where I was camped up. It was the only area that was flooded, and I couldn't even get to the tent. So that was interesting. And then another time I pitched the tent up by a river, and I heard that there was going to be a storm. So I thought, right, because I had 2 tents at this point. Right, what I'll do is I'll move the other tent just a bit higher up away from the river. Woke up in the morning, and the bit where I was higher up, the water was literally right by the tent. So I was like, oh dear. So I had to climb. I couldn't even get out of where I was because I had to go up a bank with all of my stuff to get away from the river. Anyway, I eventually managed to get to where my first tent had been. It was lower down, and it had gone. Literally, it had gone. All of the contents that were in there. I think there was a sleeping bag in there. Literally, my tent had just been washed away. So that was interesting. Yeah. So, oh dear, there's loads of other stuff, but it's been an interesting journey for me. That's just for sure. It's been a challenge. I'm going to go soon. I keep saying I'm going to go, but I will go soon. Hi, there's a lot of Christian denominations that makes it easy to get confused, which is true. The Roman Catholics are stemmed from the original ones that killed Jesus, and Hebrew scriptures was taken out. The thing is, what we've got to realise is those behind this criminal network, remember, it's a completely controlled, centralised criminal network, and has been for a very, very long time, okay? This has all been set up from the Reformation. They've controlled all publications, all archaeology, all history, all right? The criminal network, those that are criminals, in other words, are involved in lies and deception, have controlled all publishing, all education, all social media, all media, mainstream, not mainstream. It's all been controlled. So we don't know what is going to be true in relation to the history now. And so that's why, thank goodness, I haven't actually been, what's the word? I won't put I'll say indoctrinated. I haven't been indoctrinated by any scripture. I've literally been guided by my moral conscience and what I believe is right, based on the evidence that I'm finding, and that inner feeling as to what is right and what is wrong. And of course I've made mistakes, and of course I've done things wrong. Of course I have. But since I've been doing this, I've really honed into, as best as I can, my moral conscience. And every time I do something, I try and think, well, is it the right thing to do? And I didn't used to be like that years ago. I used to do a lot more things wrong. I used to drink more. I remember when I was young, and I don't know how old I'd been, but I don't condone anyone doing it. I broke a window of a school and things like that, and it's only in the last few years that I've felt closer to the Creator, since I've been doing this, really, and I've really tried to hone in on that moral conscience and have that as the foundation. The drinking of blood and the eating of the flesh could lead them to become insane, like Kuru. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, there is information, isn't there, that suggests if you eat human flesh and blood, it can cause psychological problems. Well, I think it would anyway. Even if it wasn't physically, it would cause a psychological problem, wouldn't it? They have initiatory rituals. Could just be literal vampires. It's interesting. Now, Sacha Stone, he was part of a band, and Sacha Stone is somebody that appears to be linking in with the Vatican and to the blood of the tortured children via the research that I've done from him through Glastonbury. Now, he says the world is potentially going to face an extinction level event from the cell towers. This could be them. I mean, he's massively linked into all of this. I've done more research on the International Courts of Natural Justice that he's founded, and the chair of that organisation as well, and the former guy they had on there with the former CIA, who supposedly died in 2021. It looks like he might not have. Anyway, This is potentially them telling us they're going to conduct an extinction level event using the cell towers, possibly as a judgment, or it might be a test, it might be a deception and a test against all of humanity to see what you're going to be doing. But the reason I was saying this is he was in a band, and their first album was called Cover the Sun, which makes me think about what you're saying here with the vampires. Because obviously, if there's a vampire element in all of this, and what we hear about vampires is true, and we have to be very open-minded in all of this, then obviously the sun element and the covering of the sun would be relevant to them. Now, this some people have said they're trying to block out the sun with the cloud spraying. Even the Met Office have said they're actually trying to reflect the sun using the cloud spraying. What I'm meant to say is it happened before to the black racist children, but that was done in the open. The creator wouldn't want my child harmed by taking the child's blood. This is horrible. Yes, absolutely, I agree with you. I agree with you. See, these people, someone said to me the other day, a few people have said, Gary, we are the creator. Now, this is very dangerous, all right? If we start thinking we're the creator, we're all the creator, we're potentially setting ourselves up for a very dangerous situation. It could be these people that are behind the system believe they are the creators, all right? Which means they believe they're better than everybody else potentially, and therefore they can do all of these things to humanity. We make mistakes. We are fallible. We are tempted to sin. I don't believe we are the creator, all right? And as soon as we start going down that route, we are setting, I believe, ourselves up for a failure, because we are humans as far as we know. And therefore, as I've said, we make mistakes, we are fallible, and we are tempted into sin. So we can't be the creator, because the creator gave moral conscience and gave us, and obviously we're not I didn't, as far as I'm aware, I didn't create the earth, so we're not the creator, are we? We didn't create the trees, as far as we're aware. It's going to be something much, much beyond and bigger than we are. And I think that has to be maintained as an element of psychological grounding, to be honest with you. And I believe it's very healthy to have an adoration for something away from humanity, all right, because it enables that sort of risk of, or understanding of, a potential consequence if we deviate from sin. If we don't think that there's potentially a consequence for doing something wrong spiritually, then of course we could go off track potentially into a realm of leading back into the situation we're in, really. If time goes on and people don't believe there's a consequence to doing things wrong spiritually, then of course we're setting ourselves up for failure, I believe, potentially. Whereas if you believe that there are spiritual consequences in not doing what your moral conscience says is right, which was given to you by the creator, then I think that creates that protection for all of humanity. And that isn't about control or, it's a protection for yourself, but also for everybody else as well, from yourself and to everybody else. I'm not explaining this very well, am I? So who was it said? Someone said to me a little while ago, they said, Gary, why, if the creator's real, why do they tell us you have to believe in us or you'll go to hell? And I was like, well, isn't that an element of protection? I'm not saying that is the case. I'm just saying, doesn't that provide an element of protection from guilt and the deviation from moral conscience? If we believe there's a consequence, not only does it keep us from affecting anyone else in a negative way through our wrongdoing, but it also protects us from guilt doesn't it? So it actually becomes a self-preservation as well as a world preservation scenario. But a lot of people look at that and say, well, why would, that's control, that's, you're not allowed to do this, you're not allowed to. Well, actually, what if it's protecting you from yourself? What if it's protecting you from yourself and protecting others from you? And you actually become in tune with your moral conscience to the point where you have clarity and you never feel the guilt. You never feel that self-fulfilling guilt that you would have if you did something wrong, that you knew was to be wrong, or you deviated away from that side of things. Anyway, I'm going off on a different topic there. The Book of Mormon was brought about to bring the truth about the real connection from the true Hebrew teachings. Everyone, the truth about Christianity. I prayed about it and got my answer. Okay. If they have your blood, they can clone. Yeah, there's definitely a big element in the DNA and the blood with this, with the criminal system. We've got to ask ourselves, why did they change MK Ultra to the name MK Search? Okay, so it was called MK Ultra from 1973, according to the research. Changed it, 1953. Changed its name in 1964 to MK Search. So it sounds as though, it looks as though they were looking for something. They were searching for something or someone. This then ties in with potentially why someone told me a few weeks ago. Sorry, I'm just trying to flip something. My right hip, for some reason, is really starting to play up every now and then. Sometimes it's fine, and then other times it really hurts like then. Someone told me that they were non-consensually, and it links in with the police, taking DNA samples under the COVID situation, taking samples from children. Now, when we consider the whole search, we have to consider, well, was the COVID situation about them searching for someone through the samples being taken that were actually trying to find the DNA of somebody? We have to consider that. We have to consider that. DNA, blood sampling, are they searching for something or somebody? Maybe they believe somebody or a bloodline of people is still alive, and they just don't know who it is, and they're trying to find certain people. Who knows? I mean, it's there's so many different elements to think about in all of this. Anyway, thank you very much for listening. I'm going to get to, I have no idea what the time is. My watch strap broke the other day and I still haven't got a new watch. So I really do appreciate everyone listening. Thank you so much for your comments. Really good comments on there and questions, and really, really appreciate it. Please email me, GaryTheTruthSetsUsFree@gmail.com. That's 1R, GaryTheTruthSetsUsFree@gmail.com. I'm hopefully, I keep saying it, I know, I'm hoping I'm going to send the document out tomorrow, or start sending it out tomorrow, to at least get it out to a few people. And you know, it will have the research of the artificial intelligence, the television, the stuff linking in with the blood stock, but also the Prince Harry evidence linking in with Harvey Weinstein and Jeffrey Epstein as well. So very interesting evidence coming to light, and there's loads more. There's loads more as well. But thank you very much, everyone. I'm sorry I didn't get to everyone's questions. Probably there's loads that I'm scrolling through. I didn't even get anywhere near to the bottom, so I do apologise. I hope you're all doing really well. Don't need to fear this, okay? You just need to make sure that you're doing what's right in all of this, everyone. And you know, this can be resolved. I 100% believe it. 100%. Thanks very much, everyone. Take care. All the best. Bye bye.